Previously on episode 1, the door to the Sanderson sisters' cottage in Purgatory opened to celebratory cheers from the three witch sisters. Winifred and Sarah were leading Mary in while singing her praises. For she's a jolly good fellow, for she's a jolly good fellow, for she's a jolly good fellow, which nobody can deny. Oh, sisters, stop, Mary blushed. I did nothing special. Nothing special, Winifred scoffed. Thou hast earned us all points towards an earthly return. Mary, if thou had not saved the soul of Anthony in the town of Little Hope, Winnie and I would have failed, having lost all of the souls we were in charge of. Oh, Sarah, thou hast already earned extra earthly points when you took on the form of a Pokemon and saved their world, Mary reminded her. At that moment, Sarah's new additions to the family, Cobweb the Bulbasaur and Kitty the Skitty, came waltzing over to rub against her legs. Perhaps the two of you will also have such a chance, Sarah said. For now, we should celebrate the great victory that Mary has gained for us. Oh, Winnie, please. How were we to know that all of those people were figments of a broken mind? Mary kept trying to remain humble, but her sisters insisted on putting her on a pedestal. The three witches spent an evening with all of their Pokemon in the barn area Sarah had created for them a year ago. Sarah had the most Pokemon out of the household, with 11 total after her adventure in the Pokemon world. She'd been selected to perform a perilous journey in the form of a Skitty to save the Pokemon there from calamity. She fought many legendary Pokemon with her own power next to Cobweb, her partner. Once she had completed her mission, she was transported back to Purgatory, where she awoke to find Cobweb and Kitty laying in bed with her. Cobweb, it turned out, was the Bulbasaur she had raised during her very first journey as a Pokemon trainer before he perished in battle. Being reunited was thrilling, and adding Kitty to her roster, having walked many miles in her paws, had been a wonderful surprise. Then, when they were whisked away for their third trial as a family, her confidence was shattered when she lost the one soul she had to take care of. However, when it turned out that man was a mere figment of Mary's charge's mind, she knew she was safe. She was proud of how far she and Mary had come thus far in their journeys to redemption, but she hoped Winifred would have her shining moment soon, too. She watched as Winifred stroked the fiery feathers of her Moltres, and Mary cuddled her Jirachi. A pang of jealousy tugged at Sarah's insides. She had done so much work over the years, but legendary and mythical Pokemon still seemed to steer clear of her. What else could she be doing wrong? After a while, Carlos by her side, she settled into bed to sleep. When his cool fur was no longer between her fingers, Sarah jolted awake to a loud noise. The box in the corner of her room was flashing photos of the Johto region and speaking. Sarah fell out of the bed and hurried over to the box to make it be quiet. Shh! Hush, I say! She begged, poking at it with her fingers, until she hit a button that made the box go dark. Phew! What an obnoxious magic box! Wait, I have no magic box. No matter how many times she had gone through this process, she was always surprised when she awoke in a strange new room. She checked the mirror in the bedroom, saw her childlike guise, and nodded to herself. She was once again off to the races in a new trial. Sarah gave a stretch, grabbed the bag from the dresser, put it over her shoulder, and walked downstairs. Mother, I am going out, Sarah said. She knew her mother would be downstairs before even questioning it. She just needed to get this journey started. All right, make sure to say hello to Billy for me, her mother said. I will, Mother, Sarah said, then closed the door behind her. She took a couple steps before freezing in her tracks. Billy? Not my Billy, right? Sarah, over here, a male voice called. The voice sent shivers up her spine. By the Twin Leaf Town sign. Slowly she turned and her heart jumped into her throat. There he was, the young man whom she'd fallen head over heels in love with all those centuries ago. No longer a zombie, he was the mere age of 16, the age he was when she first saw him smooch Winifred on a dare. Years later, she herself would run her fingers through his thick, dark hair and kiss those handsome features. It couldn't be true. This had to be an illusion, just as her guise was. Still, she made a beeline for him and slammed into his side, wrapping him in her arms. Well, hello to you, too, he laughed. Hello, Billy, she sighed, holding back a few tears. Why dost thou call me? We made plans to go explore Lake Verity today, remember? We just have to be careful not to go into the grass where wild Pokemon like to play. I'll follow you wherever you wish to go, Sarah told him. He grabbed her hand with a grin, making her heart flutter. Then let's go! Billy and Sarah took off out of the tiny town at a breakneck pace, heading for the nearby lake. Just to be back with Billy was amazing, but to be with him without Winifred butting her head in, claiming he was her boyfriend, was the icing on the cake. They made it to Lake Verity at the same time as an older gentleman and his assistant were leaving. They shrugged, then headed for the lake shore. Sarah followed him everywhere as he pointed out different types of trees, flowers, and Pokemon in the distance. She was grinning from ear to ear the entire time. They sat down on a nearby rock and watched the Magikarp splashing about in the lake. You know, Sarah, they say a legendary Pokemon lives in the cave in the middle of the lake. It's the being of emotion, Mesprit. No one has ever seen it before. Want to camp out and see if we can spot it? That sounds lovely, she responded. We should go get some blankets to keep warm. Good idea. I'll grab the tent from my house. You get the blankets from yours. I'm sure my mom will make us something to eat, too. The two kids ran up to the shore and started to leave the lakeside when Sarah caught sight of a leather briefcase in the grass. Billy, look! She dragged him over to the case. I think those people we saw earlier left this here. Gosh, we should probably return it to them. Billy scratched his head. But the problem is, we don't know where they went. As they stared at the case, they were jumped from behind by two territorial Starly. The gust attack knocked the pair into the briefcase and it popped open, revealing Pokeballs. Billy and Sarah looked at each other and nodded. They each blindly grabbed a Pokeball and stood up. Are you ready for this, Sarah? He asked. Feels as if it is natural, she replied, having much experience in this department. All right, let's go! Billy threw his Pokeball and out popped a Curlia. Nice, a psychic type. Curlia, use confusion. Okay, 'tis thy turn. Come on out. Sarah threw her Pokeball and it burst open to reveal Giratina. 'Tis a legendary Pokemon. Whoa, Sarah, you're battling with a legend. Okay, Giratina, use... Sarah gasped as Giratina ran behind her and ducked his head down behind her back, shaking like a leaf. Giratina? Is it afraid of the Starly? Billy asked as his Curlia took on the two Pokemon at once. It appears so, Sarah replied. I'll try to hold them off, see if you can get its courage up, Billy said. Sarah turned to Giratina. It's okay, friend. Thou art more powerful than that Starly. I know you are. I met one like you in the Johto region 2 years ago. Trust in my guidance and thou wilt not fail, she promised him, rubbing his large head with her hand. Giratina looked up at her. Do you trust me? He stared at her for a long time before nodding. Okay, use Dragon Breath on the Starly! Giratina stepped forward, planted his feet, and let loose a powerful dragon breath that immediately knocked out the opponent. Curlia took care of the other one, and the two friends let out a sigh of relief. Billy high-fived his Curlia as Sarah stroked Giratina's scaly neck. You know, I thought Giratina was much bigger than this one. It's a little on the small side. It's barely as tall as me. That's because this Giratina is a child, said a gruff voice from behind. Sarah and Billy turned around to see the gentleman from earlier as his assistant was standing there as well. Well, it seems we did in fact leave my briefcase here. My name is Professor Rowan, and those Pokemon belong to me. Oh, sorry, sir, Billy said nervously. You see, we were attacked by some Starly. They knocked us into your case, and we used these guys to defend ourselves. Sorry for messing with them. Yes, our sincerest apologies, Sarah agreed as Giratina nuzzled her shoulder, whining happily. We will return them now. No need to apologize, and no need to return the Pokemon. I can see they have already begun to form an attachment to the two of you, especially the young Giratina here, Professor Rowan said. I normally give first-time trainers their choice of Turtwig, Piplup, or Chimchar, but it seems that would not be suitable at this point. You may keep these Pokemon and take them wherever you wish to go. Really? They gasped. Just promise to train them well and keep them happy, Professor Rowan said. We promise, they said, and Professor Rowan turned to his assistant. Give them each a Pokedex, please, Lucas. Yes, sir. Lucas handed Sarah her cursed box, and she hoped it wouldn't be such a handful this time. He also gave them each some Pokeballs. Professor Rowan and Lucas bid them farewell, leaving the two trainers dumbfounded. Can you believe this, Sarah? We're Pokemon trainers now. My Curlia is amazing, Billy said, smiling at his new partner. Giratina sure is a snuggly thing, Sarah laughed, her new friend cuddling her all over. Kinda surprising, isn't it? Giratina's supposed to be the lord of dark matter, and it acts like a puppy, Billy chuckled. Looks can be deceiving, Sarah said, thinking of her own past. She pet Giratina on the head. I think I will name you Snuggles. Like that? Snuggles chirped happily. I guess we should figure out what we're going to do now, Billy said. They decided to go through with the camping trip to get their heads on straight. Snuggles and Curlia, that Billy named Gallant, sat by the fire with their trainers. Billy and Sarah ate the food their mothers prepared, feeding their Pokemon some as well. What do you want to do now that you have Snuggles? Billy asked her. I think I will take on the Pokemon League challenge. It will help Snuggles with his confidence, not to mention test my own skills to see if I am truly a good fit for him as a trainer. Sarah knew she didn't exactly have a choice in the matter, as these trials were all the same. Really? I thought about becoming a Pokemon coordinator like your mom. Those contests have always looked like so much fun. I think Gallant and I could make it to the spot of top coordinator if we tried, Billy confessed. Sarah, having no knowledge of what Pokemon contests were, smiled at him. I think you should do what would make you happy, she told him sincerely. Then that's what I'm gonna do. You'll make it to the league, Sarah. Once you put your mind to something, you always get there, Billy smiled in return. They shook hands, Sarah holding his just a bit longer. Let's, get some sleep now. Night, Sarah. She went to the tent he brought her, Snuggles huddling up beside her. She was feeling something she hadn't felt in a long time. Happiness. She was very happy to be back in the Pokemon world as a trainer, and this time with the man she loved. While he didn't seem to remember their relationship from their past life, maybe, just maybe, she'd find a way to make it work in this life. As soon as she thought this, her Pokedex beeped. Do not get any ideas, Sarah Sanderson. This is a trial. You will face difficult tests in this, the Sinnoh region. Make sure your heart and your head are up to it. Of course, Sarah sighed and went to sleep. The next day, she traveled alongside Billy to try catching some new team members, and she was successful off Sand Gym Town with Puddin' the Linoon, who'd been playing on the beach. Up on Route 202, she caught Daphne the Hariyama while she witnessed Billy befriend a Mewtwo. They walked into Jubilife City, then up to Ravaged Path where she caught Valentine, the love disc. They spent a little time around the city, and then Billy and Sarah found out their paths were about to diverge. Well, it's time for me to head to Floaroma Town to sign up for my first contest. I think Gallant, Sai, and I need to get some contest training done. Any chance you could battle us before you set off for Orberg City for the first gym? It would be my pleasure, Billy, Sarah said. Let's go, Snuggles! Sai, come on out! Snuggles ran to hide behind Sarah again, causing her to sigh and give him another pep talk. Sai was very patient, and even gave Snuggles a smile when he came to the battlefield. The two legends battled it out, with Snuggles coming out on top. Snuggles and Gallant duked it out too, with Gallant showing off some impressive moves. Eventually, Snuggles overpowered him, and Sarah won the battle. The two trainers shook hands. Good luck at the first gym, Sarah. I can't wait to hear all about it when we see each other again. I will watch your contest if I can make it there. Good luck to thee, Billy. I know thou wilt do great things, Sarah said. He gave her a big hug, and she held back tears as he walked off with his Pokemon beside him. All right, team. Time for us to go, too. Over on the next route, Sarah caught herself a Krogunk named Cyanide. They hiked through Orberg Gate and into the city. The nearest route yielded a Tentacool named Ursula, and in the mine she caught a Nidorina named Toxica. She put Valentine in the meadow for the time being and began to train her team. And now... Previously on episode 2. Sarah spent a couple days training her team on the outskirts of the mining city, Orberg. She was learning a lot about her new team, including just how skittish Snuggles could be. His training was difficult, as even the smallest foe sent him fleeing behind his trainer. However, when he went running, Daphne would full force run into the fight and bat them back. It was clear to Sarah that Daphne was very protective of Snuggles, but she was also great at helping him build his confidence to fight. Between Daphne and herself, they were able to finish his training. He relaxed next to Sarah as she trained up the rest of her Pokemon. Puddin was proving to be indispensable, as she could detect any item hiding nearby and bring it back. Normally, this early in her quest, she was having issues staying stocked up, but Puddin was saving her a lot of money and bringing her higher level things than she could afford. She also had a headbutt attack that knocked Sarah on her back when she wanted to be loved on. Cyanide was proving to be somewhat of a glass cannon, as she could knock foes out with ease, but at the same time she could hardly take a hit. Daphne started working with her on stamina, while Sarah turned her attention to Ursula and Toxica. Toxica was pretty strong and very affectionate towards the entire team, but her moves needed some work for variety. Sarah also knew she could not evolve unless she had a moonstone. This all depended on luck. Ursula was Sarah's best hope for a water-type Pokemon at the moment, but she wasn't learning any water-type moves during their training. Ursula was also a little stubborn when it came to affection. Sarah kept trying, and eventually Ursula ate her food next to everyone else. When it came time to sleep at the Pokemon Center, Sarah was very squished in her bed, as Snuggles insisted upon sleeping in bed with her, and so did Puddin'. 6 scaly legs wrapped around her side, a fluffy head tucked under her chin, and a large dragon head rested on top of hers. Sarah chuckled to herself. Maybe camping would be better for our crew. The next day, they journeyed to the gym, only to find a sign on the door saying the leader was out to the mine. Sarah sighed, then spent some time in the city looking around. At the museum, there was someone there with a contraption that could revive fossils with what Sarah only concluded was necromancy. If she ended up finding one, she would have the wizards bring it back to life. Checking back into the center, she heard a magic box in the corner speaking and gasped as she saw what was displayed on the screen. Next up in the Floaroma Pokemon contest, it's Billy! All right, Sai, the spotlight is yours! Billy, dressed in a handsome outfit, threw his Pokeball, which had a strange capsule over it and a seal of swirls in the center. When it opened, purple glowing swirls engulfed his Mewtwo, who blew them away with a powerful confusion attack. Sarah watched in awe as Billy put his Mewtwo through an amazing performance routine that used his attacks and abilities in beautiful ways. Billy was even levitated at one point, and he copied the actions of his Mewtwo, landing in perfect sync to wild cheers from the audience. So this is a Pokemon contest, Sarah squealed. How magnificently he commands Sai! This is the most beautiful thing I have ever laid eyes upon. Toxica was sitting next to her on the seats, watching with eyes aglow. Thou dost enjoy it too, Toxica. Her Nidorina grinned widely. Sarah forgot all about the gym battles she watched the contest and wished for Billy to win it all. Gallant, his Curlia used his opponent's attacks against them, turning them into beautiful explosions during the battle phase. It came down to Billy and one other trainer in the finals, and Sarah found herself hands folded in prayer that he won. This was something she had not done in ages, but for Billy, she would. The contest points were close. So close, Sarah could hardly tell the difference. Please let Billy win, she whispered to herself. Sai, time to wrap it up. Use confusion, Billy commanded. Sai lifted his opponent with his psychic powers, spun it around in an elegant manner, then slammed it into the ground. Sai used the dust to create a tornado around himself and the opponent, then blow them away in an epic reveal of his opponent fainted. Time's up! The winner of the Floaroma Pokemon contest is... Sarah held her breath, then Billy's photo with a ribbon next to it popped up on the screen. Billy and his Pokemon! Yes! Sarah jumped up screaming in happiness. Someone you know? A young man asked from behind. Yes, 'tis my, good friend, Sarah said, blushing bright red in the face. Well, good for him. The young man had a miner's helmet on and he wiped his sweaty brow. Normally, Sarah would be aroused, but with Billy around, it didn't do a thing for her. I never cared for contests. Probably why I became a gym leader. Thou art the gym leader? Sarah gasped. I have been waiting for thee to return. Oh, sorry about that. I had a lot of work to do today. Any chance we could schedule our battle for tomorrow? He asked. Certainly. We will be ready, Sarah said. The following morning, she was the first challenger in the gym, and the trainers inside did not know what hit them. She really wanted Snuggles to fight in this battle so he could see how strong he was, maybe boosting his confidence. She approached the gym leader holding Snuggles' Pokeball. "We weren't properly introduced yesterday. I'm Rourke, the Orberg City gym leader. And you are?" "Sarah Sanderson," she replied. "All right. Let's begin, but I would like to give my rock types a rest today. Mind if we fight with my other companions?" he asked. "Not a problem," Sarah agreed. "Wonderful. Bronzor, let's go!" Rourke sent out a strange, plate-like Pokemon. "Bronzor, huh?" Sarah held up her cursed box. Bronzor, a steel and psychic-type Pokemon. Abilities, Heat-Proof, and Levitate. "Curses! 4 of my 6 team members are weak to psychic types. Snuggles, you're the only one who can do this. Show them what you've got!" Sarah sent in her Giratina. "A Giratina? But how?" Rourke gasped. "He's young and needed a steady hand to guide him." Sarah looked at the shaking Snuggles. "Snuggles, thou art the only member of our team who can fight this thing. Protect your friends and do thy best. I believe in you." Snuggles looked at Sarah, who nodded to him confidently. He thought of Daphne and everyone else. He turned, planted his 6 feet, and let out a battle cry. "All right, buddy, use Dragon Breath!" Snuggles let out his attack, but it barely grazed Bronzor. However, the added effect of paralysis took hold. Bronzor couldn't move, so Sarah called for Ominous Wind. This attack did more damage, and it boosted all of Snuggles' stats. It took a couple more attacks before Bronzor went down. His Plusle and Sunflora also met their end against Snuggles, and when the battle was over, Sarah cheered for him. "Snuggles, thou hast done it all on thy own. You defeated the gym by thyself." Snuggles galloped over to her, accidentally knocked her to the ground, and began licking her face all over, tail wagging like a dog. Sarah laughed as his tongue tickled her face, and she begged him to stop. Eventually he did, and sat down as Rourke helped Sarah up. Never have I been defeated by one Pokemon, especially one so young. But Giratina is a legend after all, and I present you both with the Coal Badge. Well earned. He handed Sarah her first badge in the Sinnoh region, and she pinned it to her cloak. "Good luck on your journey, Sarah. I expect you to go far." "Thank thee, Rourke. We will," she promised. They headed back to the Orberg Gate and explored the lower levels. It was here she heard a familiar sound. "What was that?" Sarah muttered, then heard it again. "It can't be." She was tackled from behind and cuddled all over. She beamed and hugged her attacker. "Cobweb, I knew it was you! I am so happy to see thee!" The Bulbasaur she got from her time as a skitty was in her arms. "I need thy help. Are you feeling brave enough to accompany me on my journey again? I promise, this time, nothing bad will happen to you like it did in Kanto." Cobweb licked her cheek, then hopped inside a Pokeball. "This is our second chance." Using her cursed box, Sarah sent Toxica to the meadow for the time being. Then she headed back to Jubilife. Her map indicated her next badge was in Eterna, and she had to go north through Floaroma Town. Perhaps she could see Billy on her way. With Cobweb by her side, it took until nightfall to make it back to Jubilife City. She began to head for the Pokemon Center when she saw a fight breaking out at the edge of town. It was Professor Rowan, Lucas, and some strange men with green hair. They were attacking her friends. "Oh, absolutely not," she hissed and ran for the battle. "Go, Snuggles! Protect Professor Rowan and Lucas!" Snuggles saw his old owners, and a switch flipped. His cowardice was completely melted away. He ran into the fight next to his old pal Lapras, and the pair took care of the enemies in a matter of moments. Sarah ran up next to them as the green-haired duo growled. "We'll get your research into evolution energy next time. Team Galactic won't fail, and you!" The leader turned to Sarah. "Watch yourself, girlie. That 6-legged monster won't be enough to protect you next time." "We'll see about that," Sarah said, putting a hand on Snuggles' back. They ran off, tails between their legs. "Are you both all right?"
"Yes, Sarah, thank you," Professor Rowan said. "They're just a bunch of delinquents who call themselves Team Galactic. No one knows what they're after, but they like to cause trouble. I see Giratina is doing well. He seems much less cowardly than before."
"He single-handedly defeated the gym of Orberg City," Sarah bragged on him.
"Did he now?" Professor Rowan smiled. Well done, Giratina. I trust you'll be more powerful next time we meet. In the meantime, we must get back to the lab. Good luck to you and your team, Sarah. Sarah stayed cramped in her bed in the Pokemon Center that night, now with an added cobweb sleeping on her side. The next day they traveled up to Floaroma Town, but Billy had already set out. However, the town was in crisis, as the nearby Valley Windworks was being invaded by Team Galactic. A scientist was being held captive there. The town tried to find volunteers to fight them off, but no one was well trained enough in the peaceful town. Sarah volunteered to take them out. She had a feeling these people were worse than the last two evil teams she fought combined. If that was the case, her possible future with Billy here was in danger. She went under the cover of night the following evening and saved Mabel the Mawile from being taken by the Grunts. Her team took out the Grunts and they stormed the building. Cobweb was doing very well with his new comrades. As they took down even more Grunts, his bulb glowed faintly a few times. Sarah checked her Pokedex. When Bulbasaur's bulb begins to glow, it is getting ready to evolve.
Cobweb, if we beat the rest of these guys, you're going to get back to being Ivysaur,
Sarah gasped. She had lost him 4 years ago as an Ivysaur, and this time she couldn't lose him again.
Too bad your Bulbasaur won't live long enough to evolve,
said a red-headed lady in Team Galactic clothing.
Because I, Mars, one of the commanders of Team Galactic, will end you right now. Not if he has anything to say about it,
Sarah smirked. Snuggles had snuck up behind Mars and growled at her. She leapt backwards and sent out a Staraptor. Snuggles had grown very protective of Cobweb in the short amount of time they had known each other, and he didn't take kindly to that threat. Snuggles and Staraptor went at it, but Snuggles knocked it out with Dragon Breath. When she sent in a Marshtomp, Cobweb was sent in as his attacks were extremely effective against the water ground type.
Use Bide, Marshtomp,
Mars commanded. Bide was a move that stored the energy from opponent attacks and blasted it back at triple the power.
Oh, no, you don't! Cobweb, sleep powder!
Sarah had the perfect counter. Cobweb hit it with a blast of powder and Marshtomp fell asleep.
Now, use Vine Whip!
2 smacks of his vines and Cobweb knocked out the Marshtomp, leaving Mars speechless.
Now, I would suggest you start running.
Mars and her minions took off, cursing Sarah on the way out. Sarah helped the scientist get out, and then they left. As soon as they got under the moonlight, Cobweb started to glow. His bulb bloomed, and he grew bigger. Sarah grinned brightly. Ivysaur,
I know what he is, cursed box.
Sarah shut it up fast and hugged her Ivysaur.
Good job, Cobweb. This time, no mistakes. You will evolve to your final form, I promise.
On the way back to Floaroma Town, they caught a Breloom named Fungi. The scientist explained that they were looking at how wind and weather changed throughout the atmosphere, and Team Galactic wanted their research. That, paired with the evolution energy, Sarah was very confused as to what Team Galactic could possibly want. The next day started another training regiment to prepare for the second gym past the nearby forest. Mabel was added to the team in exchange for cyanide. And now, previously on Sarah Sanderson Plays Pokemon Diamond Randomized Nuzlocke. Sarah and her team made their way from Floaroma Town into Eterna Forest. It was here she found a very nice, slightly ditzy, woman named Cheryl who needed help to get through the massive forest. It took until dusk to navigate their way through the thick forest. Cheryl decided to head past the woods, but Sarah was exhausted, so she camped out with her Pokemon. While they were having their dinner, a Girafarig wandered into their camp. Sarah realized it was a female and, thinking of her sweet Melvin back home, added the new Pokemon to her team and named her Melanie. She was going to sleep in her tent, but Snuggles started to whine, so she settled in with him by the fire. He was still pretty small for a legendary, but he was too big to fit in a tent. Sarah huddled up to him, her head resting on his neck and his head laying by her shoulder. Before long, Cobweb and Puddin' snuggled up next to them as well, and Mabel crawled on top of Snuggles' back to sleep for the night. Daphne made sure everyone was comfy before laying down next to Snuggles' head. Ursula slept nearby at a pond, finally getting used to being part of the team.
Good night, everyone. Sweet dreams. Tomorrow we take on the second gym. I know everyone will do their best.
Sarah smiled, then fell asleep with her team. It wasn't but a couple more miles to the city the next day, and when she arrived, Sarah was met by a gorgeous woman with long flowing hair. Sarah even knew this woman was a knockout, and she hoped Billy never ever met her. Snuggles was walking by Sarah's side at the time, and the woman gasped. "Trainer, excuse me, is that a Giratina by your side?" she asked.
Yes, this is...
Sarah started, then felt her partner duck behind her.
This is Snuggles. He's a little shy.
I have never laid eyes on the legend itself, nor did I realize legends could breed. Might I look at him? The woman asked.
Perhaps I should learn thy name first before I trust thee around my partner. How am I to believe thou art not part of that despicable Team Galactic?
Sarah said cautiously, and the woman smiled. You are wise to not trust someone immediately with your Pokemon, but I am a safe trainer. My name is Cynthia, and I am the Pokemon League champion of the Sinnoh region. I'm also a historical researcher in the midst of Sinnoh. You have one standing behind you right now. Cynthia introduced herself.
The champion!
Sarah gasped, then turned to Snuggles. She stroked him lovingly.
It is okay, Snuggles. She is a good person. I will be right here the entire time.
Sarah and Cynthia talked for well on to an hour about the Sinnoh region and its myths. Sarah was beginning to learn a lot about the place in which she currently resided. It was also connecting some dots as to why Team Galactic was researching the atmosphere. It might have something to do with Palkia. After their conversation finished, Cynthia helped Sarah teach Puddin the move Cut to knock down trees. They parted ways, and Sarah sat down to fish in Eterna's ponds. She ended up rescuing a Chingling named Jangles. Nearby, she caught a Steelix named Solid Snake. It was nearly nightfall, so she decided to go ahead and check into the Pokemon Center for the night. Cramped in her bed, with Cobweb at her feet, Puddin in her arms, and Snuggles practically wrapped around her, she thought about the coming battle the next day in the gym. She woke up late and saw that a Pokemon contest would take place in a nearby town, and that Billy was among the coordinators performing. She ran to the gym so she could get the battle over with. She wanted to cheer him on. Her team kicked every trainer to the curb in record time, according to the attendant. She approached the leader, ready to go. Welcome to my grassy garden gym. My name's Gardenia, and I'm your next challenge. I'd like the name of my next opponent.
Sarah, and this won't take long,
she said confidently. Oh, I like trainers with spunk. In that case, I'll try my spunky team of non-grass types on you. They've been itching for a battle, Gardenia said, exchanging her Pokeballs in the PC on the wall.
We're ready when thou art. Go, Cranidos! Ursula, on deck!
Sarah's tentacle went up against the gym leader's rock-type Pokemon. Her bubble beam was so strong Cranidos fell in one hit. Ursula flexed her tentacles, and Sarah cheered for her.
Atta girl, Ursula!
Nice tentacle, but she won't be able to handle this. Meditite, get 'em! Gardenia sent in a psychic and fighting type.
Ursula, return! Snuggles, I need thee to be brave and protect thy teammates.
Sarah withdrew her water type and sent in her partner. Snuggles burst onto the field, and Gardenia gasped. Giratina? Meditite, return, fast! Melodic, go! Her water type burst onto the field, and Snuggles started to shake.
Take it easy, Snug. You can fight this thing.
Snuggles and Milotic went at it for several minutes, exchanging blow after blow until Snuggles, exhausted, came out on top. Meditite came back out, and with one last ominous wind, Snuggles won the match. Sarah hugged him tightly, and then did the same with Ursula, who resisted at first, then hugged her trainer with her tentacles. Anyone who can train a tentacle that strong and handle a Giratina with ease is deserving of the Forest Badge. Wear it in good health. Gardenia presented Sarah with her second badge, and she pinned it to her cloak.
I would love to stay and chat, but we must be off to support a dear friend.
Sarah shook her hand, put her team in the balls, and ran for the Pokemon Center.
Where is the mystical box?
Next, let's welcome our first coordinator, Armand! Sarah heard the familiar voice from the MC and ran into the room after bringing Toxica out of the meadow to watch.
Just in time, she breathed.
She and Toxica watched each contestant and cheered their lungs out when Billy came to the stage. This time his performer was gallant, and it was absolutely mesmerizing. Toxica's eyes practically glowed while she watched his Curlia perform beautiful move combinations, dancing gracefully across the stage. When it came to the battle phase, Sai dominated the field and used his abilities to twist opponent attacks into beautiful explosions that highlighted his physique. Billy was awarded his second ribbon as a coordinator, and Sarah Sarah screamed excitedly. She and Toxica danced around, holding hands. Suddenly, the TV changed to an emergency broadcast. Team Galactic took over the Eterna Observatory, and there were hostages. Any available trainers were needed to take them down.
Toxica, I hate to cut this short, but you must return to the meadow now,
Sarah apologized. She and her team ran into the fray with some other trainers and ran down the grunts. She was the only one who could break through the battles to find the hostages. She found them upstairs being held captive by a woman with purple hair.
Now tell me, where did you get this, Clefairy? They come from space, you know.
I caught it in the wild. It's been my partner for 5 years. Leave it alone.
You heard the man. Leave the Pokemon alone, Sarah said from behind them.
Aw, how cute, a heroic trainer coming to save the day. Your little friends downstairs don't seem to be having much luck getting through our forces.
They will once I defeat thee.
You think you can take me on? Commander Jupiter of Team Galactic? Jupiter scoffed.
I defeated your little friend Mars. I think we can take the likes of thee, Sarah said confidently.
Ha! Put your Pokemon where your mouth is. Go, Umbreon!
Daphne, thou art up.
Daphne faced off against the bulky Umbreon with it taking several hits. Daphne brought it down eventually, and in came a Swalot, which fell to a very strong Mabel using Bone Club. Jupiter angrily released her prisoners and called off the grunts. They escaped before the officers could get there, but Sarah was thanked graciously. The next day she got up and visited an abandoned mansion nearby where she found a lonely Clampearl who had been left by her trainer. Pearl was brought to the meadow where Toxica took her under her wing. Sarah made her way down the route nearby and into a cave where she caught a Chikorita named Sprout. Outside, she ran into a Delcatty that her Pokedex told her she could catch as it was specifically selected for her. She had picked up a couple fossils and saw that Orberg was close by, so she returned there for the night and had her fossils revived into a Pikachu and a Chimecho who turned out to be her old pal Jingles. Hearthome City was her next destination, and it was about a day's walk from Orberg. Sarah set out first thing in the morning and entered Mount Coronet. Passing through was a man with pale blue hair in a Team Galactic uniform. Sarah gulped as his cold eyes looked at her. You must be the child known as Sarah, he said coolly. Mars and Jupiter reported you to me about how much you've interfered with our research. You would do well to butt out of our business before someone gets hurt. Our research is not your concern, child. Sarah felt Snuggles' Pokeball vibrate, and she put her hand on it.
Given what my Pokemon just sensed in thee, I have no doubt thy cult is dangerous. However, I intend to be a problem for thee when thou art a problem for me. Anything you do may hinder my journey through this beautiful region, and I know thy cult is after the myths of this region. I have met with 2 of them myself, and they are wonderful beings who deserve to be treated with respect. Palkia is not yours to seize. I know all of you are trying to capture him, and he must not be disturbed, Sarah said darkly. What a smart girl you are, the man said. I'm impressed you've deduced this much so far, but you haven't figured out the entirety of our goals yet. Pray we do not meet again. With that, he departed. Sarah knew she would indeed meet him again. Palkia used to be in her care in the Johto region. She wouldn't let anyone hurt her old friend Zilla. She wondered why Snuggles' ball had shaken, but she imagined it was simply because he could sense the evil in that man. Thankfully, Mount Coronet was fairly easy to navigate, and she wound up on the outskirts of Hearthome City. She caught May the Spenda and then headed into the big city by nightfall. As she checked into the Pokemon Center, her heart skipped a beat. Sarah? She turned around to see Billy. Billy! Sarah gasped and ran into his open arms for a big hug. How are you? How's your journey been going? He asked. She opened her cape. 2 badges won and 6 to go. My team has grown and changed a little.
That's wonderful. I've got 2 ribbons so far in my contest journey, and I've caught a few new team members to train, Billy said. Hey, why don't we go on a walk in Amity Square? It's a great park for Pokemon to run around in. We could take some Pokemon food, some drinks, and a couple sandwiches and have a picnic today so we can catch up.
I would really enjoy that.
Sarah smiled, blushing a little bit.
They talked for hours, fed and played with their Pokemon, laughed, and told stories from their journey so far. Sarah told him she saw both of his contests on the magic box, and Billy confessed that he had actually participated in 3, but one wasn't televised and he'd actually lost. Sarah explained the situation with Team Galactic, and Billy promised to help in any way he could. The sun started to set as they made their way back to the Pokemon Center. I had a crazy thought, Sarah.
What is it?
There's a contest here in 2 days, but tomorrow the Coordinators Association is holding a mini contest for beginners. Maybe you should compete.
Me? Oh, no, I couldn't. I am a gym trainer.
So? There are plenty of coordinators who are also gym trainers, Billy told her. I even went to Orberg and battled Rourke to see if any of my contest tactics could work in regular battles. I think this might help your team improve even more.
Well, there is someone who would really enjoy being in a contest,
Sarah said. The next day, Billy and Sarah went to the contest hall, and she signed up for the contest with Toxica by her side. Sarah made Toxica look very pretty by tying some yellow ribbons around her ears. Billy gave them a few pointers before the contest started, and Toxica worked with Gallant. He lent her a ball capsule and a seal for her Pokeball. Sarah was introduced as the 6th contestant in the junior contest, and she sent in Toxica.
Toxica, spotlight!
Toxica burst from her ball and did a triple somersault before landing in a proud pose. The audience cheered for her.
Okay, Toxica, use toxic spikes like we practiced,
Sarah commanded. Toxica spun on her toes while the spines on her back expelled toxic spikes into the air. They swirled in a circle pattern.
Use poison sting to break the spikes.
Toxica jumped into the air, spun again while spitting the needles at the spikes. With every collision, the poison attacks exploded into a shower of purple sparkles. Toxica somersaulted through the sparkles and landed on Sarah's shoulders, both striking the same pose. The audience went wild as Toxica flipped onto the ground. Sarah picked her up and hugged her tightly.
You did so well, Toxica. I am proud of thee no matter the results.
They got full marks for the performance stage. When it came to the battle tournament, Sarah remembered to use their enemies' attacks against them to make Toxica stand out. She was amazing and took down every opponent. At the end of the tournament, Toxica and Sarah were pronounced the winners and given a junior ribbon. Sarah and Billy took the time to fashion it into a necklace for Toxica. Congratulations to you both, he smiled that evening over dinner. I knew you two would be able to do it.
Toxica has been in love with contests since she saw you in Floaroma Town, Sarah admitted.
She was mulling something over. She took to it like a natural, he said. Sarah sighed, eating the food that tasted like nothing and gave her no nourishment.
I want to battle thee after we finish, she said.
I think we'd be up for that. I want my new friends to get some work in before the contest tomorrow, Billy agreed. After dinner, they headed for the battlefield outside the center. We aren't going to take it easy on you with our contest moves.
And our battle techniques will dazzle you,
Sarah winked. Cherry, the stage is yours. Billy sent in a Pokemon called Cherubi.
Puddin', you're up.
Sarah sent in her Linoon. Cherry's performance techniques in battle were great, but Puddin' was too fast for Cherry to dodge for long. 2 headbutts knocked it out. Nice one, Sarah. We'll work on our agility. Up next in the spotlight is Angel. Billy brought out a Pokemon Sarah wasn't familiar with. She held up her Pokedex. Togekiss, a normal and flying type, the final evolution of Togepi. It is fast and powerful.
In that case, Puddin', come back! Battle station, Snuggles!
Sarah sent in her partner, who yelped and started to slink back.
Come on, buddy, center yourself and give it your best.
Snuggles snapped out of it and stood tall. Hey, he's getting braver, Billy smiled. But it won't help. Angel, use extreme speed.
Snuggles, dodge!
Snuggles moved just in time, then struck with Dragon Claw. Billy called for Sky Attack, Angel shooting into the sky in an elegant spiral, cloaking herself in light. Sarah called for Dragon Claw again, and for the first time, Snuggles flapped his wings and took off into the sky. Billy and Sarah gasped in awe as he struck, knocking Angel out, caught the Togekiss on his descent, and then laid it down in front of Billy before running back to his spot. Whiskers the Barboach was sent in next, and Sarah sent in Cobweb Jr. Whoa, an Ivysaur! Nice new addition, Billy complimented her.
Thank thee, he's a very close friend,
Sarah smiled.
Razor Leaf!
Whiskers didn't stand a chance, and then it was Billy's partner Gallant's turn. Gallant met in battle against Mabel. Gallant put in an amazing effort, but Mabel was too sturdy to lose to a psychic type. She came out on top, and Sarah won the fight. The two trainers shook hands after the fight, Sarah holding his hand a little longer after it was over. You did great, Sarah. No wonder you've already got 2 badges and you won the junior contest. You'll stay and watch the contest tomorrow, right?
Of course, we wouldn't miss it for the world,
she promised. Sarah sat in the stands with Toxica by her side, cheering Billy on as he took the stage with Angel in the performance category. Angel's elegant attacks lit up the room, causing awe in the audience. He scored huge points, and they moved on to the battle portion. Round 1, he used Cherry, who was much faster after her battle with Puddin'. He won and moved on to round 2 with Whiskers, who did an amazing job using his opponent's psychic attacks to make his scales glow. The final round of battles, Billy brought out the big guns with Sai, who was up against a Milotic. Sarah and Toxica were tense the entire battle as they watched the points of both trainers tick closer and closer to 0, staying neck and neck all the while. Sai was wearing down and so was Milotic, but at the last second he used Psychic to turn a hydro pump attack into a water slide, which he surfed down and knocked Milotic out with Psycho Cut. Sarah looked at the points as knocking out an opponent didn't mean you won in a contest. The scores looked the same. The winner is, by a small margin, Sarah and Toxica held their breath, and each other, as Billy's picture appeared on the screen. Billy and Sai! Billy was presented with the Heart Home ribbon as Sarah cheered from the stands with her Nidorina. He was also presented with a Pokemon egg. After the contest was over, Sarah ran up and hugged Billy, both of them laughing happily. Toxica congratulated all of his Pokemon while their trainers shared a moment. Sarah looked back at her, then looked at Billy.
I have a proposal for you, Billy,
she said sentimentally. A proposal? What kind? He asked.
Toxica really wants to participate in contests with a coordinator. Sadly, that is not in my plans at the moment. I have a different path ahead of me. Wouldst thou consider taking Toxica with thee, just for a while, so she can experience the contest world?
Sarah requested. Toxica looked up at her with a dropped jaw. Sarah, I can't do that. Toxica belongs with you, Billy protested.
Thou hadst seen the look in her eyes when she watches thee perform. You saw how excited she was when we did the beginners contest. Her heart belongs to that stage. Please, Billy, take her with you,
Sarah pleaded. You really want me to, don't you? Billy sighed and he nodded. Ask Toxica. Sarah got down on her knees and took Toxica's hands. Toxica's eyes were already sparkling with tears, which got Sarah to mist up as well. She pulled her a little closer.
Toxica, I know how much you love contests. With Billy, you could be a champion. You should go with him. I love thee so much, and I only want what is best for thee. It will not be forever. I promise we'll see each other again. I want thee to be happy, and I think this will make thee so much happier than staying in the meadow and watching from the sidelines. Billy will take good care of thee and let thy dream come true. Please consider it.
Toxica thought for a moment, then leaned into Sarah, and they hugged tightly.
I'll miss you.
Sarah handed Billy Toxica's Pokeball, and he held out his egg. Sarah raised an eyebrow in confusion. He smiled at her as he accepted Toxica's ball. If Toxica is coming with me, you'll take the egg in return, he stated.
But Billy, you won it.
Nope, trading Pokemon means you get one in return. So take the egg, hatch it, and when you want Toxica home, return the Pokemon to me, he insisted. She took the egg and nodded.
Deal, she said. Toxica, make me proud.
Toxica gave her one last big hug before she stood by Billy's side. We'll be heading out first thing tomorrow for the next contest site. What about you?
I need to get going. The gym here is apparently the 5th rank, so I must move on to Veilstone City.
Sarah hugged him tightly and he her. She was glad she looked 16 to him, so when she kissed him on the cheek, it didn't seem weird. Sarah left in a hurry because if she stayed any longer, she'd take Toxica back and have to confess everything to Billy. She didn't want to break this illusion for him. She didn't want to lose this blossoming relationship. As she ran towards the gate to the next route, she wiped her eyes as her Pokedex beeped. Do not get lost in this life, Sarah Sanderson. This journey is a trial. Do not forget that. it warned her.
I know,
She sniffled, running down the route. She stopped out of breath near a rose bush and tried to stop her tears from flowing.
I know.
She felt someone patting her back and offered her a handkerchief.
Thank thee.
She turned and looked into the face of a Rose Raid.
Hello, who are you?
Rose Raid gave her another pat on the back to calm her.
Would you like to come along with me?
Sarah caught Zorro, the Rose Raid, and kept walking till nightfall. She took refuge inside a tower where she caught Rocco, the Trico. It was a pretty nice area, and sleeping was rather comfortable, despite the stone floors. Sarah arrived in Salacion Town the next morning, and she explored the ruins nearby. She caught Lura the Drifloon, and her Pokedex announced her ability to catch a Jigglypuff that she called Helium. Just on the outskirts of Salacion Town, she caught a Swellow. Her egg hatched later that day, and she named the baby Nosepass Sniffles. It was on the route ahead during a terrible storm that tragedy struck. Ursula, her water-type moves boosted by the rain, were not enough to stop a Mamoswine from killing her in battle. Sarah was heartbroken with no life potions to speak of. She and her team had to say farewell to Ursula in tears, as she was the first grave they dug. With a heavy heart, she added Pearl to the team. Pearl wasn't shy. She was actually very friendly and formed a quick bond with Puddin' and Mabel. Snuggles was scared at first, but then he was happy to let the little clam Pearl ride on his back. Sarah took the route towards Veilstone City head-on again the next day. It was rough, with trainers every mile, but her team worked hard to make it through. Sarah and her team checked into the Pokemon Center, then hurried to explore the nearby lakeside. In the cave, she caught a Perugly called Yzma. She also helped Bugs the Baneri, who had gotten beat up by a bunch of bully trainers. Bugs was so grateful he hopped in a ball immediately. When she reached Valor Lakefront, she met with a legendary Pokemon called Mesprit, which she battled, attempted to catch, then failed. Snuggles had had a strange reaction to Mesprit, which made Sarah worry, but he was all right. They needed to keep training, and during training, Pearl evolved into Gorbis. Sarah felt a lot better about Pearl's strength as she was coiled around and squeezed lovingly.
Okay, you can battle in the gym,
Sarah coughed. They were ready to go. And now. Previously on episode 6. Training finished up, so the next day Sarah stood in front of the gym doors. Her team was ready. She believed that with her whole heart. When they entered the gym, she had to face 4 trainers in this fighting-type gym, and each one fell to her Pokemon. She also had to solve a puzzle that led to the gym leader. It took an hour, but she finally pushed the blockades into the right position. Sweating buckets, she approached the young gym leader.
Well, hey there! My name is Maylene, and I'm the new gym leader of Veilstone City. My dad just retired, so this is my first week on the job. This has been a fighting-type gym for years, so I'm working on finding my specialty. Still want to fight? I need my badge, so I'll face whatever team you choose, Sarah said confidently. I have actually helped another leader like thee in the past. Show me thy team, and we will help you decide. Thanks, that's very kind of you, Maylene told her. Let's get started then with Silcoon! Maylene's first Pokemon was a Bug-type in its middle stage. Bug-type? Interesting, Sarah said. Let us begin with Puddin'. Sarah's Linoon used Headbutt over and over against Silcoon, but it kept boosting its defense by hardening its cocoon. Puddin' was starting to wear out, so Sarah had to switch into a special attacker. All right, Pearly, this is thy first gym battle, so show us your stuff, Sarah said encouragingly to her Gorbis. Pearl dove into the small pond and swatted the water with her tail. Water gun! Water gun hit hard enough to plunge Silcoon into the red. Maylene got a little worried and hesitated, which opened the door for Pearl to knock out the Silcoon. Maylene sent in another bug type, Butterfree. Sarah had raised one years ago, so she knew how to fight back. Mabel was the right fighter, so she went up against Butterfree. However, Mabel only got in one hit before Maylene called for Whirlwind, a move that sent Pokemon back into their balls and dragged out another without the trainer's choice. The exhausted Puddin' was dragged back out. Can you fight? Sarah asked, and Puddin' gave a nod. All right, use Headbutt! Puddin' had to fight through a side beam, but she struck with Headbutt twice and knocked it out. Sarah called Puddin' back to rest as Maylene sent in a Kangaskhan. She gulped, knowing how bulky and strong this Pokemon was. She sent in Snuggles, who yelped and started shaking. Snuggles, its normal type moves cannot affect thee. You will be all right, Sarah told him strongly.
He seems so timid for a legendary Pokemon, Maylene said.
He is still a baby, Sarah explained. We are working on his confidence.
Aw, that's sweet. We'll help him out like you're helping us out, Maylene smiled. The two large Pokemon exchanged blows for a long time, both healing before Snuggles had to retreat. Kangaskhan was thrashing him with the Dark-type move Bite. As soon as it was over, he flopped on his four hind legs and panted heavily. Daphne came in to protect him, and her fighting-type moves took down the opponent. Sarah ran up and hugged her, wearing Pearl around her shoulders like a scarf, and exhausted Puddin' riding on her back. Daphne patted a sad Snuggles on the back comfortingly, and Sarah kissed his cheek for the effort. He blushed and nuzzled her cheek in return. She looked at Maylene, who held out a badge. "A battle won fair and square. Here's your Cobble badge." Sarah took it and pinned it to her cloak. "I think I figured out where my strengths lie thanks to our battle. I'm gonna be a normal-type trainer."
Thy Kangaskhan should lead the team. It was a formidable opponent.
Sarah shook her hand, then returned her Pokemon to their balls.
Couldst thou point me in the direction of the next gym?
You'll want to go to Pastoria City. It's south, then off to the west. Maylene highlighted the route on her map. Good luck! Sarah left the gym and ran straight into Lucas, who needed help getting his Pokedex back from Team Galactic. She kicked their butts, got it back, and then went back to the Pokemon Center to sleep. Her bed was getting more and more cramped since Cobweb evolved, but she liked being close to her Pokemon, so she dealt with it. The following day, she set out for Pastoria City. It took 4 days to get there, but camping along the way was fun. She loved playing with her Pokemon on the beach. Everyone ran through the sand, splashed in the ocean, and stargazed at night. While they were digging in the sand one day, Sarah found a fossil. Sarah had picked up the HM for Fly in Veilstone City, and it turned into her broom. She flew to Orberg City, and her fossil was restored into a Ledian named Rossi. Flying back to Pastoria City, she visited the Safari Zone, where she caught Ember the Magmortar, Velma the Machoke, Rhonda the Baltoy, and Mikey the Squirtle. She was very happy with her new friends as she left the Safari Zone. Sarah? She turned and saw Billy smiling at her. And now, previously on episode 7.
Billy?
Sarah gasped as she ran in for a big hug.
It has been weeks. What art thou doing in Pastoria City?
My next contest is here in 3 days. I'm competing for my 4th ribbon. Our last 2 contests didn't end so well, so I'm going into this one with some new friends and Toxica. She's been earning a lot of points, but our final battles have been against experienced coordinators who knock out the team before we can gain any points. So we're here early to practice. I'm considering challenging the Pastoria Gym to sharpen our battle skills, Billy explained as they walked through the town. They were arm in arm, and he didn't even mind Sarah smelling a little bit like the marsh in the Safari Zone. How's your gym challenge going?
Gym battle number 4 tomorrow. We won our badge at Veilstone City several days ago,
Sarah told him with a smile. She leaned her head on his shoulder, and he smiled, cheeks turning red. Mind if I come watch? You're such a good battler, I might be able to take some notes from you, Billy asked.
Certainly, I do not mind at all. Thou hast helped me with the contest practice. This will be repayment.
You don't need to repay me for that. It was my pleasure. I like spending time with you.
I feel the same way about thee,
Sarah said, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear.
Well,
we should, go to the center for the night. I need to get the team rested up.
We need to do some training, so I will catch up with thee tonight,
Sarah said. Great. See you later. Billy headed off for the Pokemon Center. Sarah ran off for the nearby route, her heart fluttering like birds' wings. She trained her team up until the sun set, then hurried back to the center. She and Billy spent the evening pampering their Pokemon, Toxica hugging on Sarah for a while. Sarah told Billy the egg hatched into a nose pass, and she let them meet. Billy got to know his potential pal as Sarah caught up with Toxica. She seemed very happy with her new life, and Sarah knew she made the right decision. Sleeping that night was much easier with Billy across the hall. She didn't even mind being squished in bed with her Pokemon. Sarah and Billy arrived at Pastoria Gym as soon as it opened for the day. Billy hugged Sarah and wished her luck before going to the spectators area. It was rare for there to be an audience during gym battles, but popular trainers often had an entourage. Billy watched from the stands as Sarah took on every trainer in the gym as she solved the rising and falling water puzzle. She stood in front of the macho-looking gym leader. "Hello there, it's me, Crasher Wake, the famed wrestler of water types. Nice to meet you, challenger. Unfortunately, my water type team is exhausted from an exhibition, so I'm using my auxiliary team for today. Is that all right with you?"
Absolutely. We like a challenge,
Sarah said confidently. "Then let's get this battle started," Crasher Wake laughed. "Fan P, battle stations!" The small elephant took the field.
Pearl, I know you can do it.
Sarah sent in her Gorbis.
Brine!
Pearl was extremely fast, especially in the water. She slithered like lightning through the gym's pool, leapt and struck with brine. Fanpy was blown across the room, and Wake had to catch him. Crokinole was sent in, and Sarah switched to Cobweb to fight. Crokinole was fast too, and he hit with Bite, but took a lot of damage from Cobweb's Razor Leaf attack. Crokinole struck with Ice Fang hard and froze Cobweb in a block of ice. Sarah gasped and returned him to his ball. Daphne was brought in to fight in his place, and as Wake healed his Pokemon, Daphne used Belly Drum, a move that cuts her health in half to maximize her attack stat. Sarah knew it was risky, but it was worth it.
All right, Daphne, come heal.
Sarah had her retreat for a moment to heal, then she fought an attack.
Arm thrust.
Daphne's blows struck like boulders, and Crokinole fainted. Wake sent in his own Gorbis, and Daphne struck again, knocking it out quickly. Billy cheered for her from the stands as Wake conceded defeat. He walked up to her and handed her the Finn badge. She pinned it to her cloak as she heard Billy cheering. "Even my backup team didn't stand a chance against your Hariyama. Fantina doesn't stand a chance against you." Wake clapped her on the back, and Sarah stumbled from the strength behind it. "Young man in the stands, you're lucky to have a girl like this." Thanks." Billy blushed bright red, and so did Sarah. When they got outside the gym, Billy hugged her and they shared a happy laugh. "You did so great! I've never seen such a risky technique pulled off like you and Daphne did it. I'm going to have to take more risks like that in contests, and Pearl's speed was just wow!"
Thanks, Billy, Sarah giggled. I'm glad you learned something.
"Oh gosh, I have to have a battle with you later on. Let's go on a picnic or something to celebrate your victory," Billy said, and pulled her onto his back.
Billy, what art thou doing?
Sarah gasped. "Lock your legs or I'll drop you," he said, and started running for the park nearby.
Billy!
Sarah shrieked as she locked her legs around his waist and arms around his chest.
What has gotten into thee?
"I don't know," he laughed. "I'm just really happy to be around thee again. Hath been ages since we frolicked." "Frolicked?" Sarah gasped. Was Billy getting his memories of their relationship back? He hadn't spoken like that since they met up in Twin Leaf Town. She didn't look a gift like this in the mouth. Her afternoon with her old flame was wonderful. They celebrated her victory, ran around the park with their Pokemon, shared a picnic lunch that Sarah could not taste nor get nourishment from, and they laid together in the grass watching the clouds go by. It was the best day Sarah had ever had since the first time they were together. Billy held her hand and smiled. "I think Crasher Wake was right. I'm very lucky to have you," he said. "I feel like I've known that for a very long time. Like in another life."
I feel the same way,
Sarah said. "Would you stay for my contest in 2 days?" he asked her.
I would like that, Sarah giggled. Maybe I can carry thee on my back after thy victory.
"I'd be up for that, lass," Billy laughed. They turned on their sides to face each other and started to move in when Sarah saw a Team Galactic grunt running by carrying a suspicious package. She gasped and Billy backed off. "Sorry," he swallowed.
No, it was not thee. Team Galactic is here.
Sarah sat up straight. "I've heard of them on the news. We gotta stop 'em," Billy said, and they took off with their Pokemon in tow. They chased him all the way back to Valor Lakefront by midnight, where more grunts were waiting. He was handing over the package when the pair of trainers ran up. Immediately, the battling began. Sarah took on one grunt who had a Clefairy that fell with ease to Mabel's attacks. Billy used his new Deoxys, and the pair took them out quickly. The grunts ran off like bullets, and Billy hugged Sarah. They decided to stay in the resort that night, since they'd ran miles and miles to stop the villains. As they were getting settled in, Cynthia walked through the doors. She inquired about Team Galactic and was pointed to the pair of trainers. "Well, Sarah, we meet again," she greeted them. "And this is—" "Billy Butcherson, pleased to meet you," Billy said. "You're a friend of Sarah's?" "Well, not exactly. I met up with her and her legendary partner in Eterna City. My name is Cynthia. I'm the Pokemon League champion of the Sinnoh region," she explained, and Billy's jaw dropped. "Sarah, do you know who this is?" Billy babbled.
Yes, Billy, Sarah chuckled. What can we do for you, Cynthia?
"I heard you took down the band of Team Galactic grunts. I've heard reports that they are heading to Celestic Town to research the ruins there. My family lives there, but I have been called back to the League to search for their leader. I wanted to see if you two capable trainers could travel there to head them off while we looked for the leader," Cynthia requested. "I have a contest in Pastoria City soon, so I can't leave right now," Billy said regretfully.
Billy, I wanted to stay for your contest performance and help you prepare with the battle, but...
Sarah trailed off. "No, Sarah, you need to go. The champion of Sinnoh is asking for your help," he said. "You should leave as soon as you can. I understand, and I'll explain everything to Toxica."
If I can find a magic box, I will watch from a distance, Sarah promised. Good luck.
Billy leaned in and kissed her cheek, and Sarah's heart skipped a beat. She left in a daze with Cynthia, who highlighted her route on the map. She also gave her a relic necklace to deliver to the town elder. It was recently discovered in the Salacion ruins, and it might have some connections to the legends of Sinnoh. Sarah promised to do her best, but on her flight back to Salacion town, she couldn't stop thinking about Billy's kiss on the cheek. He didn't have these feelings until after her 4th badge. Come to think of it, the more badges she had gotten, the closer he was getting to her. She nearly crashed her broom when the realization hit her.
The more badges I get, the more my Billy comes back,
she gasped as she landed on the route outside the town. She took out her Pokédex.
What sort of trial is this cursed box?
She asked it. A trial of loyalty, it replied. Where does your heart truly lie, Sarah Sanderson? With your sisters or this boy? Think of that as you continue on. She put the Pokédex away and took a deep breath. She had to refocus on the problem at hand right now. Team Galactic. Sarah started her journey up the route through thick fog that would have proved problematic if she had flown. There were several strong trainers on the way, and she caught a Geodude named Igneous in a garden. During a battle with a particularly tough trainer, something wonderful happened. Cobwebs struck down an opponent, then started to glow. He grew, his flower bud bloomed, and he evolved into Venusaur. Sarah hugged him around the neck happily and kissed his cheek. He was thrilled to reach his full potential years after their first meeting and their adventure as partners in the Pokemon world. Together, they walked into Celestic Town and saw Team Galactic trying to bag a frightened Rampardos they'd trapped in the middle of a lake. Sarah sent her team to scare them off, then hurriedly caught the Rampardos to save it. She planned to let it go, but it was so thankful it begged to stay, so Patchy was sent to safety in the meadow. Sarah let her team come out for some air as she looked for more grunts. Snuggles let out a cry as he saw a Rhyhorn being chased by a galactic grunt. He ran them down, and Sarah caught the Rhyhorn, too. Snuggles started to cuddle the Rhyhorn to comfort him, and Rhyhorn cuddled up against him. Sarah decided to name him Sir Cuddles, as she knew Snuggles had just made a new friend. As she tried to continue clearing out grunts, she saw one with the same package from before. He opened it, and inside was what looked like a bomb.
Oh no,
Sarah gulped. And now, previously on episode 8.
Get away from there,
Sarah shouted and sent in her Linoon.
You will not harm this sacred place.
A weak little Linoon? Raikou, go get it! The grunt sent in a legendary Pokemon who wore a metal collar. Raikou's eyes were red. It was clearly in pain.
Weak? Didst thou just call us weak?
Sarah repeated.
Puddin', headbutt now!
Puddin' sprang at Raikou and struck with a critical hit, dodged a quick attack and struck the collar again. The collar broke. Raikou fell, looked around for a moment, and realized it was free from control. It was too weak to move on its own, so while Puddin' handled his Nidoqueen, Sarah and Snuggles helped Raikou get up. They walked him out of the way as Puddin', using her pickup ability, snatched the bomb, passed it to Snuggles, who used Fly to launch it into the sky, then blasted it with ominous wind, blowing up the bomb and their plans. The grunt ran into the ruins like a shot. Sarah followed and ran into that blue-haired man again. "Boss, this teenager, she freed Raikou and destroyed our bomb. What do we do?" he asked. "Fall back for now. This ruin has been useful enough. No need to blow it up," he said.
"Thou art the man I met before, and thou art the man the champion is looking for. The leader of Team Galactic,"
Sarah realized. "Cyrus, remember my name," Cyrus said coolly, "because it will be the last name you hear before Team Galactic destroys this universe." Sarah was too stunned to move. She could feel the evil dripping off of this man. In another world, she'd be fawning all over him, but here, could she be erased from existence? Cyrus and his cohort walked right past her, and she could hear the spinning wings of a mechanical bird. She knew they were getting away, but she couldn't make sense of this. Her Pokedex beeped. "Now do you understand what is at stake in this world? If Team Galactic succeeds here, your soul will perish, and you will have no hope of returning to your sisters. Not only your soul, but also the soul of your lover. Loyalty to him or to your sisters will determine your fate." It went silent, and Sarah steadied herself against the wall of the ruins.
"I must stop them from destroying the Sinnoh region," she breathed. "To do that, I must get stronger."
She left Celestic Town after delivering the amulet to the Elder and being thanked with the HM for Surf. Pearl gained a new move. It took her a week to travel back through the foggy routes. Then she took off on her broom for Hearthome City. She had another badge to earn. "I'm Fantina, the gym leader of Hearthome and a top coordinator. My team is exhausted from their recent contest in the Hoenn region, so I must use my secondary team. Do you mind?"
"Of course not. I have to earn my badge no matter what,"
Sarah said. "Go, Slowbro, take the stage." Fantina sent in a psychic and water type.
"Snuggles, I believe in you!"
Sarah sent in her Giratina, who stood tall and did not shake even a little bit. It seems his battles against Team Galactic boosted his confidence. Slowbro hit him with Water Pulse, but it barely tickled, and Snuggles struck hard with Ominous Wind, plunging Slowbro into yellow. Slowbro tried to retaliate, but Snuggles was too strong. With another Ominous Wind, he took it down. Fantina brought in another Pokemon, an Ice type, called Snover. Snuggles yelped and retreated. Sarah was planning to call him back anyway, so this switch was fine with her. She sent in Daphne, who used Arm Thrust to knock it into yellow. Snover used Swagger to both boost Daphne's attack and put her in a confused state. Sarah chuckled at the attempt, then fed Daphne a Persimberry to snap her out of the confusion. Snover tried to dodge, but Daphne's power was too much. She knocked it out with a single blow. Machoke was the final Pokemon, so Daphne stood down and tagged Snuggles back in. Snuggles and Machoke were locked in battle, with Snuggles using Fly and Machoke trying anything to land a hit. Eventually, Snuggles slammed into Machoke hard enough to knock it out and into the wall. Fantina lost, and Sarah hugged her two tall Pokemon happily. Fantina congratulated Sarah and gave her the 5th badge of Sinnoh, the Relic badge. She pinned it to her cloak, then went to the Pokemon Center for the night. She was able to map her next route to Canalave City and heard on the magic box that the next contest would be taking place there. She hoped Billy would be there. She needed to apologize for missing his contest performance in Pastoria City. After camping in Celestic Town and on the route there, being crammed into a bed with Puddin' and Snuggles was refreshing. Cobweb couldn't sleep on the bed anymore because of his evolution into Venusaur, but he stayed right next to the bed. Pearl preferred to sleep in a water-filled tub while Daphne slept on the window seat and Mabel slept on top of Daphne. Sarah didn't sleep easy that night knowing what she knew now. Billy was getting his memories back, and if she stayed here, they could be happy, but Team Galactic could kill the both of them. She had to stop them no matter what it took. Snuggles put one of his 6 legs across her torso comfortingly, and Sarah sighed, finally comfortable enough to go to sleep. She set out the next morning for Canalave City and realized the route was all water. She had to think of a way to get across when she saw a fallen tree and big hunks of bark. Using a rope Puddin' had found, Sarah made a makeshift raft. Pearl bit down on the rope and pulled Sarah through the water. When they finally hit land, they camped out under the forest canopy. A hungry Wurmple wandered into camp, and Mabel shared some of her food with it. Wurmple inched over to Sarah, who offered it a berry, and it crawled into her lap. Sarah smiled and asked if it wanted to come with her. Mystery the Wurmple snuggled on top of her chest that night before being sent to the meadow the next day. It was a short walk to Canalave City, and after checking into the Pokemon Center, Sarah went exploring. On the beach of Canalave, she caught Holly the Delibird. As Sarah stood at the edge of the water watching the waves go by, she suddenly screamed from someone tickling her sides. She whirled around to see Billy, laughing hysterically. "What a rotten thing to do, Billy Butcherson!" Sarah smacked at his hands as he laughed. "I couldn't resist," he chortled. "I'm sorry for startling you, Sarah. I was happy to see thee and wanted to surprise you." "I'm glad you did." She hugged him and he kissed her cheek. "How did thy last contest go in Pastoria? I was unable to see what happened. I am sorry." "It started off a little rough, but," he pulled out his ribbon case and Sarah saw 4. "We won!" "I am so happy for thee." She threw her arms back around him and kissed his cheek, again thankful she also looked like a 16-year-old to the naked eye. "And you have another contest here soon, right?" "Yeah, it's in 2 days. Thou art here for the gym, I take it." "Of course. I got my 5th one from Hearthome at long last a few days ago." "That's wonderful, Sarah," Billy said with a smile. He stroked his chin for a moment. "You know, lass, you still owe me a practice battle for my contests."
"Wouldst thou like to battle now or later?" Sarah asked.
"Now. My new Pokemon need to get some work in before the contest," he said, and they assumed the battle position. "Comet, the stage is yours!" Billy sent in our Luxray.
"Oh, I am familiar with Luxray. Mabel, time to battle."
Sarah sent in her Mawile. "Bone Rush! Swagger, Comet!" Comet used a risky move to confuse Mabel and raise her attack. Mabel fought through the confused state to strike with Bone Rush and knock him out. While Billy brought in Skull the Bagon, Sarah fed Mabel a Persian berry, snapping her out of confusion. Mabel hit Skull with Vice Grip and knocked it into low health. Mabel took a hit, then took out Skull, and Billy called in Gallant. He'd evolved into Gardevoir. Mabel did battle with him too and won with Bite. Spot, the Girafarig, was next, and Sarah smiled, thinking of her own Melvin. Spot fell to Mabel as well, and Billy couldn't help smiling. His Delibird, named Klaus, did the best it could, but Mabel was victorious in the end. Billy sat down on a rock and shook his head as Sarah sat down beside him. "I took a risk with that move. It backfired completely. How did you manage to pull off that move against Crasher Wake?" Billy asked her.
"If I hadn't chosen to heal, I wouldn't have. The same strategy worked against Fantina with Swagger. It's always about choosing the right thing to do for the Pokemon," Sarah told him sweetly. "If I had pulled Mabel back, she would have lost the attack boost Comet gave her. She would have been upset, so I let her keep battling and hoped she wouldn't hurt herself before I could give her that berry."
"So it could have gone wrong for thee if the confusion kicked in," Billy said, and Sarah nodded. "Risks are necessary in battles. Hopefully with this knowledge, we can take care of our 5th ribbon. It's a doubles contest."
"Doubles?"
2 Pokemon perform, and 2 Pokemon battle, Billy explained. "It's our 3rd time trying since we got our 4th ribbon. I'm hoping we can pull it off this time."
"I have faith that you will,"
Sarah said, looking into his eyes. They shared a moment before Billy cleared his throat. "I was going to go train at Iron Island tomorrow. Wouldst thou like to join me?" he asked her.
"I would like that," she said.
They set sail the very next day, and when they arrived at Iron Island, a man was trying to stop Team Galactic from harming the Pokemon with magnetic waves. They were testing magnetic waves that were making steel types go wild. A Vulpix was caught in a stampede of Lairon, and Sarah didn't hesitate. She ran in, rolled into the stampede, and covered Vulpix with her body. She took several painful blows to the back until she was able to call out to Daphne for help. Daphne battled the Lairon as Sarah got up and limped away with the hurt Vulpix in her arms. Billy brought in his 2 legendary partners, Cosmo the Deoxys and Psy the Mewtwo. They started dipping and diving to rescue other Pokemon. Gallant and Comet went with him to double battle some grunts. Sarah, holding Vulpix, sent her Pokemon in alongside the man who was fighting Team Galactic. She ran up beside him and they shook hands. His name was Riley. Together, they took out the Team Galactic grunts, with Sarah having a few close calls with her Pokemon. After it was over, she healed up her team, and Riley entrusted her with a Pokemon egg. He thanked both Sarah and Billy for all their hard work. Billy and Sarah trained on the island all day, and during that time, her egg hatched into Oswald the Octillery. She also caught the Vulpix that she named Willow. Sarah watched Billy's contest the following day and cheered loudly for him and for Toxica, who was in the performance stage with Spot. Their performance was dazzling, and Toxica looked so happy on the stage. Billy's battle phase commenced with Gallant and Comet. He was struggling with commanding two Pokemon, but their instincts kicked in, and they did well enough to get to the second round. Sarah went backstage on the break to talk to him and help him out a little.
Billy, battling with two Pokemon is just as easy as battling with one. Weigh their strengths, watch their weaknesses, and let their battle partner cover them. It's just like how you made those moves combine in the performance stage. Thou art a wonderful trainer. Remember that. Now let me hear you say it.
I am a good trainer.
That's not what I said. Now say what I said.
I am a wonderful trainer.
I cannot hear thee.
I am a wonderful trainer.
Louder!
I am a wonderful trainer.
Louder!
I am a wonderful trainer.
And what art thou going to do?
I'm gonna win my 5th ribbon.
When?
Today.
Dost thou feel victory?
I feel victory.
Now get out there and show me.
I will. I love you.
I love you too.
Sarah trailed off, and Billy kissed her right on the mouth, then headed for the entryway into the arena. She stumbled back to her seat and continued watching the contest. Billy and his Pokemon really put their hearts into the battle from here on out. During the finals, Sai and Cosmo showed off their precision teamwork against their opponents. Billy commanded them flawlessly. At the end, the points for style and battle were totaled, and Sarah grinned. Billy's photo flashed onto the screen, and he was awarded his 5th ribbon. Sarah ran into his arms afterwards, and they celebrated his victory with a picnic on the beach. Their Pokemon ran around, and they just stared at the ribbon for a while before Billy put his arm around Sarah. She laid her head on his shoulder, and they watched the sunset together, her next gym battle looming the following day. And now, previously on episode 9. Welcome to Canalave City Gym. I hear from my son Rourke that you were quite the battler, Miss Sarah. Unfortunately, my main team is resting up from a big mining expedition the other day. I've got my secondary team ready to go. Are you ready to fight?
We have been training for this battle. We're ready. My team will show you the same spirit we showed thy son,
Sarah said confidently. Billy was watching from the stands with Toxica and Gallant by his side. Toxica cheered for her old trainer. Let's get started then with Pachirisu. Byron sent in an electric type.
Puddin', take the field,
Sarah sent in her Linoon.
Use headbutt.
Puddin' took off like a shot and smacked into Pachirisu. She took a small hit, then used Cut, knocking her into red. Pachirisu used Sweet Kiss to confuse Puddin', so Sarah swapped out into Mabel while Byron healed. Mabel used Bone Rush to launch it back into the red zone. She dodged, then struck again and knocked out her foe. Next was Beldum, a Pokemon Sarah was very familiar with. Beldum only knew one move, Takedown, so Sarah had the advantage. Mabel used Crunch, sending its health to yellow. Takedown barely hurt, and she went in again for the knockout. Tauros was the last opponent, so Sarah switched into Daphne. Tauros hit harder than she expected with Takedown, but Daphne retaliated with Force Palm, hitting twice as hard. Tauros huffed, then used the Psychic-type move Zen Headbutt, striking harder than before. Sarah gasped as Daphne rolled backwards over and over until she skidded back on her feet, still ready to fight. Sarah breathed a sigh of relief.
Force Palm, now!
She commanded. Daphne blasted forward, struck, and knocked out the Tauros. Victory was theirs, and she heard Billy and Toxica cheering from the stands. Sarah hugged Daphne and Mabel, patting Puddin' on the head. Byron approached her and handed over the Mine Badge, the 6th badge in her Sinnoh journey. She pinned it to her cloak and smiled. Sarah and Billy hugged tightly outside the gym, then kissed. After that I love you at the contest, their relationship had evolved like a Pokemon. He held her for a long moment, and she practically melted into him. "I'm so proud of thee, Sarah. Thy skills are incredibly sharp. I think you will go all the way to the League," he said.
"And thou shalt be a top coordinator,"
Sarah told him. "Well, my next contest is way up in Snow Point City. This might be the last we see of each other for a time," he said sadly. Sarah shook her head and held up the town map.
"7th Gym, Snow Point City,"
she told him with a grin. Billy beamed. "Then we should travel together. We will explore the region as a team," he said, hugging her tightly again. At that moment, the earth quaked, and in the distance a loud boom had rang out.
"What was that?"
Sarah gasped, clinging to Billy. "I don't know," he said, as suddenly Professor Rowan and Lucas ran up behind them. "Are you two all right?" Lucas asked. "Team Galactic blew up Lake Valor, and the aftershocks reached all of Sinnoh."
"What?"
they gasped together. "Apparently, there have been sightings at all 3 lakes in the region. We could use a hand in reaching all of them. Lucas and I are heading back to Lake Verity. Billy, I know there's a contest up in Snow Point, so I expect you'd be going there. Please hurry and check on Lake Acuity. I'm sure they're going there now. Sarah, I need you to go back to Lake Valor and stop them from escaping," Professor Rowan said. "Yes, Professor." Billy nodded. He turned to Sarah. "I know we just promised to go together, but—"
"No, go. We cannot allow these villains to destroy our wonderful world,"
Sarah said. Billy gave her another big kiss.
"Be careful."
"You too, lass." Billy called out Cosmo, who transformed into speed form, pulled Billy onto his back, and they zoomed off. Sarah started to run, materialized her broom, then soared into the air. She flew as fast as she could to Lake Valor and saw the entire lake had been dried up. Sarah landed in the lake bed and fought her way through the grunts to the mouth of a cave where she found a man with dark blue hair standing in wait. "Somehow I knew you'd show up here, Sarah Sanderson. Unfortunately, you're too late to save the lake spirit. We've already caught Azelf, and it is on the way to headquarters now. I'm sure Mars has already gotten Mesprit, and Jupiter is on her way to Lake Acuity."
"Then I had best dispatch of thee quickly so I can assist my allies,"
Sarah said. "Adorable. I, Saturn, am the most powerful commander of Team Galactic," Saturn scoffed.
"Then thou wilt be disappointed when I defeat you,"
she said. "Gulpin, swallow her whole team." Saturn sent in a poison type.
"Puddin', headbutt."
Sarah sent in her Linoon, who immediately attacked and made Gulpin flinch.
"Again!"
Puddin knocked it into red, and Gulpin used Stockpile to boost its defenses.
"That won't help thee. Finish it, Puddin'."
Puddin indeed took it out, and Saturn sent in Cherim. Puddin hit pretty hard with Headbutt, but Cherim unleashed Petal Dance, blowing Puddin into the sky, then slammed her into the ground. She struggled to her feet, beaten down. Sarah called her back, then sent in Snuggles, who let out a loud cry. Saturn gasped in astonishment after seeing Giratina. Cherim was locked into Petal Dance, which allowed Snuggles to knock it out with Fly. Weepinbell met the same fate, and Snuggles roared at Saturn, who started running. Snuggles started running after him, but Saturn got away in a helicopter. Sarah caught up with him and reined him in with sweet words. Team Galactic really set him off in ways Sarah was growing concerned about. She tried to get him back into his ball, but he refused. She let him fly beside her as they hurried back to Twinleaf Town, where they made a beeline for Lake Verity. Once again, she battled her way through the grunts, all the way over to Mars, who had just defeated Lucas. She turned to Sarah.
"Too late, Miss Goody Two-Shoes. Mesprit is ours."
Mars sent the legendary out of its Pokeball, and it had one of those collars on.
"Not for long," Sarah said and threw a Pokeball. "Mabel, use Crunch at full power."
Mabel's Dark-type attack landed at critical hit power and knocked it out, but it didn't break the collar. Because of that, Mars easily recalled it and sent in Metatite. Sarah had to switch out into Snuggles, who was battle-ready. Mars panicked when he used Fly and swapped into her Spoink, who took a huge hit, then fell to Shadow Force. Metatite wasn't ready for the Shadow Force attack that followed. Mars was defeated, and Snuggles charged her too, but she got away. Snuggles was all worked up again, and Sarah had to calm him. Professor Rowan helped Lucas up as Sarah struggled to rein in her Giratina.
"Professor, why is he acting this way?"
Sarah asked, wrapping her arms around Snuggles' scaly neck.
"He's been on a tear since we fought Saturn."
Giratina was a specially bred egg that Team Galactic once owned, made from a scale from the mighty legend. When he hatched, he was experimented on to see if he gained the same amount of power the legend held. It's why he was so skittish when you met him. I only got a hold of him because Lucas here smuggled him out of the headquarters. His father was a scientist for Team Galactic. Once he figured out what was going on, he and Lucas took Giratina and fled.
Oh, Snuggles, no wonder thou art so angry whence you lay eyes on them.
Sarah hugged him close as he started to calm down.
He wants to get back at them for what he went through, Lucas told her. Then we will stop their wretched plan, Sarah promised.
Would you mind checking on the routes nearby Sanjam, Sarah? The aftershocks have caused some disturbances on the water routes, Professor Rowan requested. It will allow a little time for Snuggles to calm down before you go to Snow Point City.
I think that is a wise idea,
Sarah said. She and Snuggles walked along the short path to Sanjam Town, then Pearl pulled her through the water on her raft. Snuggles glided next to them, letting the sea mist calm him a bit. They rescued a Cradilly named Lawrence from a whirlpool. Manectric was surrounded by crashing waves and became known as Orbital. While they were traveling and helping out other Pokemon, Sarah saw a bunch of Pokemon sleeping in a heap. In the center was an injured shadowy Pokemon. The Pokemon surrounding him were moaning and twitching. It was the first one she ran into, and her Pokedex beeped. Darkrai, the new moon Pokemon. Darkrai's signature ability allows it to drain life force from the nightmares of Pokemon and people. This is a mythical Pokemon and your encounter.
Darkrai, you look hurt.
Sarah carefully started to approach when Darkrai glared at her. She stopped, holding her hands up gently.
It's all right. I can help thee, but you must allow the Pokemon to wake up.
Darkrai levitated a bit, still hurt, then fired an attack at her.
Okay, the hard way it is. Daphne, use Seismic Toss.
Her Pokemon had been helping the injured, so Daphne charged in and brought Darkrai's health down. Sarah then called for Cobweb to use Sleep Powder, and Darkrai succumbed to slumber. Sarah threw a Dusk Ball, and Darkrai went inside. She was never good with legendary Pokemon. They always fled when she came near, so her jaw dropped when the Dusk Ball clicked on the first throw. She picked up Midnight's new Pokeball and brought him to the Pokemon Center in Sanjam. He was healed and hugged his new trainer excitedly. Sarah spent some quality time with him before sending him to the meadow for safety. She spent the night there, then flew to Celestic Town the next day to begin her journey through Mount Coronet. It took 12 hours for her to get through the foggy cavern, and she emerged in a snowy winterscape. She shivered, quivered, and shook as she trudged through the deep snow. She tripped over something, falling face first into the snow. Poor Sarah's lips were blue when she pulled herself up and saw what caused her to fall. A mudkip digging up some items under the snow.
Thou art a little loot goblin, art thou?
She chuckled through chattering teeth.
I could use thy help finding some items.
So Loot Goblin joined the team. Sarah walked for a while longer, then found a cabin, and the owner invited her in to warm up. And now, previously on episodes 10 and 11, Sarah trudged through the snow, shaking the entire way. The snow was up to her hips in spots, which made her even colder. Her cloak wasn't doing anything to keep her warm. At one point, Daphne, who wasn't affected by the cold much, came out to carry her trainer for a while. As they were passing under a tree, a big pile of snow and ice clocked the Hariyama on her head and knocked the pair of them onto the ground. Sarah fanned Daphne to wake her up, then grabbed one of the 4 revival items in her bag. She cracked it open under her nose like smelling salts, and Daphne sat up straight. Sarah consulted with her Pokedex on using this item in this manner, and it told her since she did not brew a potion with it, it did not count against her. After breathing a sigh of relief, Sarah kept walking with all of her Pokemon in their balls again. At one point, her body started to shut down and she fell into a snowdrift. She had no idea how long she was out until she felt something warm holding on to her. She woke up to see an Altaria hugging her with its fluffy feathers in order to warm her up.
Thanks, she stuttered. Can I keep you?
Cotton Candy nodded and jumped into a ball briefly to be caught. He popped back out and wrapped around Sarah like a coat. At the lakefront, she caught Caw the Huntail. Together, they made it to Snow Point City, where they ran into the Pokemon Center so Sarah could get warm and feed her team. The sun had set, and as they were settling in, Billy came running into the center. He ran up to the nurse and begged her to heal his team. He was on the verge of crying as he dropped to his knees. Sarah left her Pokemon to dine, then dashed over to him.
Billy, what happened?
She gasped. Team Galactic. They ambushed me at the lake when I tried to secure Uxie. They've practically burned down the place. I need my team healed before I can go back. Sai and Cosmo are still out there trying to run interference. Billy winced when Sarah hugged him. She discovered he was also hurt from the attacks.
Stay here, Billy. I will go with my team to finish what thou hast started. We'll protect Sai and Cosmo, she instructed him.
No, Sarah, 'tis far too dangerous to go alone. Trust me, he groaned.
We'll be all right. I cannot risk thee getting hurt again.
She kissed his forehead.
Please stay here. I will take extra Pokemon with me.
Please, love, be careful. Billy kissed her. Sarah brought out Midnight from the meadow along with Cotton Candy and Velma. She called her to her team and they hurried to Lake Acuity. Jupiter was in the process of battling Uxie as the woods around them burned. Sai and Cosmo were doing their best to help evacuate Pokemon. Sarah ordered Midnight, Velma, Cotton Candy, Puddin', and Mabel to go assist them. Grunts were cornering a Pokemon that was large and emitting a lot of heat. It was terribly frightened, so Sarah sent Snuggles and Daphne to help him. Mabel and Pearl attacked Jupiter's team and eventually defeated them, but she had already nabbed Uxie. The helicopter came in and retrieved her and the other Grunts. Sarah's Pokemon ran back to her along with Cosmo and Sai, who collapsed from exhaustion. Pearl went to work using her Surf attack to put out the fires, while Sarah treated the wounds of the fire Pokemon. Heatran, a legendary steel and fire-type Pokemon. This is your encounter, beeped her Pokedex.
Heatran, I will only catch thee if you wish me to,
Sarah told her. Heatran laid her warm head on Sarah's knee and whined.
Okay, here you go.
Sarah took out a dusk ball and pressed it to Heatran's head. She went inside and it clicked. Sarah named her Adrian as Pearl finished her work. She fell over, exhausted. Snuggles let Cosmo and Sai ride on his back to the Pokemon Center as Sarah carried Pearl around her shoulders. Midnight welcomed Adrian to the team, and Sarah could tell he was speaking highly of her as a trainer. When they returned to the center, Billy was bandaged and sitting with his team. Toxica had some bandages on her, just like the rest of his Pokemon. When he saw Sai and Cosmo, he ran over to them and hugged them tightly. His two legends were sent to be healed, as was Pearl. Adrian got some treatment, and before long, everyone was sitting in the dining area eating. So they took Uxie, Billy said remorsefully. What are they up to with those poor Pokemon?
I do not know, but whatever it is, it cannot be good. Cyrus, their leader, has said things about creating a new world, but 'tis impossible, is it not?
I know not, love. With legends by thy side, you can achieve much. Look at the two of us. Sai and Cosmo have been wonderful with me. Snuggles has been a grand companion for you, and now you have Midnight and Adrian. We must find a way to rescue those Pokemon. We will figure out where they have taken those Pokemon, I promise.
For now, we must focus on our goals. I have a gym battle, and you have a contest,
Sarah said, leaning her head on his shoulder. It's in 2 days. My Pokemon are hurt. I do not know what to do.
We'll train together,
Sarah said. And that's exactly what they did. The next day they were battling each other to perfect moves and raise levels. It was nice to spend time together, and when it finally came for his doubles contest in Snow Point, Sarah cheered from the stands after all of his performances as he was awarded his 5th ribbon. Billy was overjoyed when the MC announced he was now eligible for the Grand Festival in Sunny Shore City. Sarah and Billy spent an intimate evening together in each other's company to celebrate his victory.
Willst thou watch my battle tomorrow?
Sarah asked him. He pulled her close, kissed her on the head, and smiled. Of course I will, he said. Billy sat in the stands as Sarah did her best to solve a snowball puzzle. As she approached the gym leader, she was stared at hard. Sarah gulped, feeling fear wash over her. You own Giratina, Candace the gym leader said.
How didst thou know?
Sarah gasped.
I was chosen by his counterpart, and he wants to battle you. These two titans will meet in battle today, so I will not be using my ice team. Are you ready to earn my badge? Absolutely, Sarah said confidently. Then begin the battle, Septile. Septile entered the field, and it was clearly strong. Puddin', battle stations. Sarah sent in her Linoon. Septile struck at incredible speed with pursuit, but Puddin countered with an even stronger slash attack. Septile used agility to boost its speed as Puddin slashed again at critical power, knocking it out. Sarah pumped her fist happily as Candace recalled him. She pulled out another Pokeball from her belt, and it was physically shaking. Arceus, commence the legendary battle! Candace sent in the Pokemon that had denied Sarah's advances in the Johto region. The Pokemon who created the Pokemon world. Snuggles' ball began shaking too. Snuggles, I can feel thy determination. Go and fell this Titan! Sarah sent in her young Giratina. He's so small. This can't be the Giratina of Legends Old, Candace commented. He was bred from a single scale off of Giratina's body. Team Galactic created his egg, experimented on him, and hurt him. He has been safe under my care since his rescue. Arceus, test his worthiness of walking the earth as a clone, Candace ordered her Titan. Snuggles, show him thy spirit. Snuggles and Arceus struggled against each other for a long time. Snuggles was significantly smaller than Arceus, but he showed his stuff. He had no hesitation in his attacks. He was looking the giver of life in the face, and Sarah could see tears in his eyes. Arceus looked upon this young legend, and Candace saw a smile in his eyes. They continued exchanging blows until Sarah shouted out, Dragon Claw! Snuggles roared, powered up, and slashed across the torso of his foe. Arceus, smiling, fell to the ground, fainted, and Snuggles breathed heavily. Sarah looked at him as he ran back to her in tears. She hugged him around the neck tightly, realizing he had just battled to find out exactly why he had been born. Snuggles cried on her shoulder as Candace withdrew her Titan. This battle isn't over. Stay focused. Candace sent in Suicune. Two legends. Snuggles, sweetheart, canst thou still fight? Sarah asked him, and he nodded proudly. Then use Shadow Force. Snuggles dove into a shadow, dodging the attack from Suicune, burst forth, and struck hard enough to knock it into yellow. They used the same strategy again, and Snuggles knocked Suicune out. Candace's last Pokemon was Blastoise, and Cobweb came in so he could give Snuggles a rest. Cobweb's new Seed Flare attack took out Blastoise, winning the battle. Billy and all of his Pokemon shouted out applause as Sarah was handed her 7th badge, the Icicle badge. Candace shook her hand and patted Snuggles on the head. Arceus accepts you, Snuggles. You are not a clone. You are a living legend. And Sarah is the right person to take care of you, she told him, and he burst into tears again, this time smiling. Billy and Sarah shared a long kiss when they left. She was so happy, but suddenly Billy's Poketch rang. Professor Rowan was calling to inform them they located Team Galactic's hideout. It was in Veilstone City. Sarah hopped on Snuggles' back, and Billy sent out Cosmo, who transformed into speed form and wrapped his arms around Billy's waist. The two trainers soared into the sky, Sarah enjoying her first flight on Snuggles' back. They were going so fast, Billy's map said they'd be in Veilstone in no time at all. When they landed, they broke into Team Galactic's HQ and started tossing the place. They fought their way through the grunts all the way up to the boss's office. Cyrus and Saturn were standing in front of the 3 lake spirits who were clearly in pain. I take it you're here to stop us from hurting these Pokemon, Cyrus sighed in annoyance. We've already got what we want from them. Cyrus, sir, perhaps we should let these children free the Lake Trio only if they can defeat us, Saturn suggested. I do like the sound of that, Cyrus said. Then we'll happily show you both the door and free those Pokemon, Sarah said confidently. Let's do it, Billy said. Cyrus and Saturn sent in their Pokemon, Rattata, Wooper, Nidorina, Machoke, Slowking, and Wormadam. With their legends and strong Pokemon in hand, the two trainers defeated the Galactics with ease. Billy destroyed the machine and freed the lake spirits as Sarah and Snuggles chased after Cyrus and Saturn. They caught Saturn, but Cyrus escaped.
Over the building's speakers, they heard the operation was moving to Spear Pillar at the peak of Mount Coronet. Billy and Sarah took Saturn to the local police station, rested their Pokemon at the center, then set out immediately. They could only make it up to the second level before having to camp. Sarah could barely sleep, and Billy had the same trouble, so they spent the night in each other's embrace around the fire. A Kecleon with an injured Magikarp walked into their camp, and Sarah offered them some food and medicine. Pascal and Serpentera joined them, Pascal going with Billy, and Serpentera with Sarah.
Taking care of Pokemon somehow always puts my mind at ease,
Sarah admitted. Me too, Billy said. And we'll take care of the entire region by putting an end to those madmen.
Right. Together.
Sarah clasped Billy's hand. Together. Together, they climbed the rest of the mountain the next day. When they arrived at the peak, Cyrus was using a red chain to open a portal. Billy and Sarah fought their way through the grunts only to be restrained by Jupiter and Mars. The portal opened and out came a large Pokemon. Dialga, the legendary Titan of Time. This Pokemon is one of the Creation Trio and once belonged to Mary Sanderson under the name of Kronos, beeped her Pokedex. That Pokemon belonged to thy sister? Billy exclaimed.
Apparently, and we must save it,
Sarah called over the noise. At last, we can begin to create the new universe, the one free of crippling emotions. With Dialga's arrival, we can start to summon Palkia, Cyrus said to no one in particular. Dialga, distort time, I command you! The chain wrapped around him, causing tremendous pain. He had no choice but to do what Cyrus said. Billy and Sarah beat back Jupiter and Mars.
Keep them busy, Billy,
Sarah begged. Go after Cyrus, Sarah, Billy shouted. She ran at him and he whirled around, sending in a Pokemon without a second thought. Duskull, stop that child.
Mabel, crunch!
Mabel came in and knocked it out quickly. He sent in Magnezone, which hit speedily and dodged many of Mabel's attacks. She finally got in a hit, but her health was growing weak. Sarah tried to switch her out, but Magnezone's magnet pull left her unable. Mabel was a steel type. Sarah did her best to keep Mabel out of danger, but when Magnezone let loose a powerful discharge, the unthinkable happened. Mabel flew back and crashed in front of Sarah, dead. She screamed in sorrow for her Mawile as Daphne burst onto the field and took down the foe with a force palm. Sarah cradled Mabel in her arms, weeping as Billy called out to her, "Keep fighting, Sarah! Avenge Mabel's death!"
Daphne, back!
Sarah shouted as Cyrus brought in Drowsy, a psychic type.
Snuggles! Shadow Force, now!
Snuggles showed no mercy. He knocked out the following Farfetch'd, then knocked Cyrus to the ground. Sarah walked over to him after handing Mabel's body to Billy. She picked the beaten man up, her childlike form vanishing due to the time portal, and held him up by the collar. Cyrus looked terrified. You are no child.
No, I'm not. I'm a witch, far more threatening than thou wilt ever be. Now, you wanted your universe, so take it.
Sarah shoved him backwards into the portal, and it vanished along with Cyrus. Mars and Jupiter cried for their boss as Sarah returned to 16-year-old form. They made a break for it, but Billy's Mewtwo and Deoxys stopped them. You aren't going anywhere, Billy said, then dialed a number on his Pokétch. He hurried to Sarah's side, giving her back Mabel. I am so sorry. She was very brave, very strong, and very loving.
I can bring her back, but...
Sarah started weeping again when she heard Dialga cry out. Sarah, he's still stuck in the red chain. Give me Mabel. He belonged to Mary. You should save him, Billy said, taking her back. Go. I've got her.
I love you, Billy.
Sarah sniffed and he kissed her. I love you too. She stood up and faced Dialga with Snuggles and Cobweb. Cobweb put it to sleep, then Snuggles broke the red chain with Shadow Force. Sarah threw an Ultra Ball and caught Dialga. She let him out of the ball and Dialga looked around.
Hello, Kronos,
Sarah said, and Dialga perked up. He looked at her, then frowned in confusion.
I know thou art looking for Mary, but she is not here. She loves thee, though. I am her sister Sarah. Allow me to care for you until my journey ends.
Kronos limped over, sniffed Sarah up and down, then licked her. Normally, she would be all smiles and huggy, but all she did was return to Billy and take Mabel back. All of her Pokemon gathered around to mourn as she took a revival item from her pouch. She started to use it when her Pokedex beeped. New ability unlocked. Sarah Sanderson currently holds more revival items than lost Pokemon. Sarah Sanderson has only lost 2 Pokemon in her Sinnoh journey. If Sarah defeats the 8th gym without another death, the 3 revival items in her possession will be formed into a black flame candle to revive her lost Pokemon, it explained, and Sarah swallowed.
So if I keep these, I reverse all death from my entire journey,
she summarized. Correct. The choice is yours. Revive Mabel now, or revive all Pokemon later. Her dex went silent. Sarah, what are you gonna do? Billy asked her. She wiped her eyes, hugged Mabel close, then put her body in her Pokeball as the officers arrived to arrest the remnants of Team Galactic.
I'm going to defeat the 8th gym without another death,
Sarah said strongly.
Mabel and Ursula will return. Mark my words.
Then we had best get to training.
No, not yet. The time distortion from Team Galactic's mayhem probably affected legends all around the region. I want you to go check on Lake Verity, Billy. I am going to check Lakes Acuity and Valor, okay?
Sarah told him, a plan formulating in her mind. You raise a good point, Sarah. I shall meet you at the Valor Lakefront in a couple of days. Billy kissed her on the lips. Good luck.
You too.
Psy, return! Cosmo, speed form! Billy took off with his Deoxys. Sarah turned to Kronos.
Join my team, Kronos. I need thy help.
Kronos licked her face and wagged his tail. She returned him to his ball to rest, then flew off on her broom for Lake Acuity. After resting her team at Snow Point City, she went to the lake and found Uxie was missing and a Mewtwo was in its place. Mewtwo turned around upon hearing the entry, and it stared at her long and hard. Suddenly, he broke into a grin and with a burst of speed flew over and tackled her. His arms wrapped around her, hugging her tightly, and she looked at his bright, smiling face.
Oh my! Timmy? Is it thee?
Sarah gasped, and he squeezed her tighter.
Oh, my old friend! Hello, I have missed thee.
She hugged him, then felt him rustling in her pouch for something.
What art thou doing?
He pulled out an empty dusk ball, tapped it with his finger, then went inside. The ball clicked. Mewtwo has been registered to your Pokedex.
Welcome back, Timmy. I do need thy help.
She smiled. Uxie flew inside from outside of the cave now that it was safe again.
Everything is good now, Uxie. Rest peacefully.
Uxie thanked her with a hug.
All right, time for Lake Valor.
After a long night of flight and camping inside the lake forest, Sarah caught a golem named Louisa. Azelf was trembling outside of its home. Sarah patted his head and promised to fix it. She had collected a Master Ball from Cyrus's office a couple days prior. She walked in and came face to face with a behemoth. Regigigas, the Titan Pokemon, a normal type legend that is said to have moved continents.
Regigigas, thou dost not belong in this cave. I could truly use thy help with something, so you're coming whether you like it or not. Go, Master Ball!
She caught Regigigas immediately and named him Atlas.
Thanks for being cooperative.
Sarah met back up with Billy, who had Mesprit in tow. She had taken a liking to Billy and joined him for the grand festival. Sarah and Billy had the same destination in their sights, Sunny Shore City. They would begin their training the very next day. And now, previously on episode 12. Sarah sent her Pokemon out of their balls as Billy did the same. One at a time, they trained their Pokemon in contest performance, combat, and stylized attacks and defense. Sarah's team was doing well against Billy's mostly psychic-type Pokemon. She had to get her remaining members leveled up to face their final gym, but more importantly, the 5 new team members. Before they'd begun their training, Sarah explained to her team that she was going to save Mabel and Ursula, but apart from Snuggles, they would have to sit this last gym battle out. She needed to ensure their safety as there could not be any more deaths for the Black Flame Candle to form. So in their stead, she put together her most powerful team she could think of. Snuggles would lead the charge, and backing him was Mary's old friend Kronos the Dialga, Sarah's first legend Timmy the Mewtwo, Atlas the Regigigas, Midnight the Darkrai, and Adrian the Heatran. Her entire team consisted of legendary Pokemon. She wasn't letting anyone else die. Days went by as she trained her Pokemon, and Billy prepared for the grand festival. He was sent the details and saw there were 3 rounds, not just 2. Round 1 was a single performance, the second round was doubles, and the battles of round 3 would shift between singles and doubles in each bout. For single performance, he planned to lead with Gallant as he had more types of moves to work with. Doubles performance was coming down to Toxica and Mesprit as they were getting along well, and their moves were complementary. Single battles would come down to Comet, his Luxray, Spot, the Girafarig, and Skull, his former Bagon, who had evolved into Salamence. Doubles leaders were Cosmo and Psy, followed by Angel the Togekiss and Klaus the Delibird. Whiskers the Whiscash and Cherry the Cherim would be the tertiary team. At sunset on the 9th day of training, the 2 trainers sat with all of their Pokemon around a fire. Sarah watched their Pokemon getting along well and smiled to herself. Timmy was talking with Psy, and it seemed Psy was giving him some pointers. It was helpful that they were the same species. Billy put his arm around her shoulder. "Think we've trained enough?" he asked.
"I hope so," Sarah sighed. "I want that candle."
"You have 6 legends by your side, Sarah. They all like you a lot. Even Atlas, who was a bit difficult at first. Snuggles loves you. Kronos has familial loyalty to you through Mary. It's going to be fine. You'll have Mabel and Ursula back before you know it." He kissed her on the head. In the firelight, he was starting to look a bit older. Sarah wondered if her final badge would set the 2 of them back to the ages they were when they were courting. Or could it have just been the light? Either way, she was so happy to be with him again. This trial had been the most wonderful of them all, yet she couldn't shake off what the Pokédex had said. She had to choose between her loyalty to Mary and Winifred and her loyalty to Billy. What would happen if she chose Billy? After he had fallen asleep, she pulled out her Pokédex and pressed the wake-up button.
"Cursed box, what happens if I choose Billy over my sisters?" she asked.
"Classified."
"No, tell me right now."
"That information is classified until the champion has been defeated."
"Tell me!"
she whispered angrily. "I cannot. Just know it will be a difficult choice to make." It went silent, and no matter how many times she pressed the button, it wouldn't wake up.
"Damned thing,"
she cursed, throwing it to the side in her tent. Snuggles woke up from the clatter, as did Timmy, and they looked at her worriedly.
"Oh, I am sorry. I did not mean to wake you boys. I am frustrated. Go back to sleep. It will be okay."
Timmy and Snuggles scooted over and hugged on her.
"I have a hard choice to make soon. Regarding all of you and Billy. I am not sure what to do yet, but for now I must focus on our final gym battle and cheering for Billy at the grand festival. It will be a long stretch soon."
She fell asleep with her friends hugging her in their cramped tent. Billy and Sarah traveled together through the route, enjoying their time together and taking battles when challenged. Battling beside Billy was exhilarating. Their teamwork was flawless. They took time to enjoy the beach and have fun with their Pokemon. Sarah took in every second as she knew in her heart this was likely the last time she would get things like this. Her team of legendaries were having a blast together with Billy's Pokemon. After 5 days, they made it to Sunny Shore City. Billy got signed up at the contest hall for the grand festival and had only the following day to prepare. Sarah wanted to go to the gym as soon as possible, but it turned out the leader was gone on some sort of retreat for the next 3 days.
"Looks like thou art going first,"
Sarah told Billy that night at the center. "I'm worried about this one, Sarah. I want to be a top coordinator badly," he confided in her. "I feel like if I fail, I will lose something precious to me. My Pokemon have worked hard, harder than I ever imagined. They have earned this, and I do not want to disappoint them."
"They will never be disappointed by thee. I am certain thou wilt do wonderfully in the grand festival. I will be there cheering for thee every step of the way. I promise,"
Sarah said lovingly. "Thank thee. I do not know what I would do without thee," he said, and they shared a kiss. "Oh, I love you."
"I love you too,"
she whispered. "Stay with me," he said quietly.
"I want to,"
she replied. That night, they shared a bed, and their Pokemon stayed in their Pokeballs. Sarah needed one night with the man she loved, and she finally got it.
Billy spent the entire next day preparing his performances, with Sarah helping him train for the battles. The following day, she brought her primary team out of the meadow, and they all watched Billy in the grand festival together. Gallant's psychic moves gave extra life to his magical leaf and shadow ball attacks to make beautiful patterns, swirls, and explosions that rained sparkles onto the audience in many different colors. It was absolutely beautiful, causing cheers from the audience. He made it into the top 3 of round 1. Round 2, he brought out Toxica and Mesprit, who he'd named Lily. Toxica and Lily, who was using Psychic, performed a dance routine in the air accompanied by acrobatics and poison-type moves being lit up by confusion like lights. As they danced, occasionally Lily would cause the lit-up poison spikes to collide and send purple sparks into the air like fireworks. Billy pulled something from his pocket and threw it to Toxica in midair, who grabbed it flawlessly. She started to glow brightly as Lily created a swirling vortex of sparks around her as she flew around the funnel. When the sparks blew back and the light flashed, Toxica had evolved into Nidoqueen. It was a planned evolution. When they landed, Lily sat atop Toxica's head, and the poison lights exploded into fireworks. More loud cheers rang out from the audience, and Sarah screamed for him proudly. Billy made it into round 3 in the top 5 at number 2 slot. 10 coordinators were participating in the battles after an intermission. Sarah ran backstage into Billy's arms and kissed him over and over.
"Those performances were amazing! I am so proud of thee and all of thy Pokemon!"
she exclaimed. "I cannot believe we just did that," he laughed in relief. "They did wonderfully. Toxica and I worked on that throw for days."
"I had no idea what thou hast conceived with that move, but it was spectacular."
Sarah turned to Toxica and they hugged tightly.
"I knew letting thee go with Billy was the best choice for you. I am so proud."
Toxica blushed bright red in the cheeks. "Now we just have to make it out of our battles with the most points and no one being knocked out." Billy wiped his brow. "I have faith in my battlers."
"You will win. I know it,"
Sarah said and kissed him long and hard on the lips.
"For luck, my love."
"Keep cheering. Hearing you gives me strength," he told her. Battle after battle, Billy and his Pokemon pushed and performed beautifully. It wasn't without damage or easy competition, but he made it to the finals at last. Sarah found herself praying during the last battle that he would win the fight. Sai and Cosmo were his battlers, and Sarah let Timmy watch this one for his education. The psychic duo battled, dodged, and Cosmo made a show, when necessary, of switching between his forms to complement Sai's abilities. Sarah's heart pounded as she watched the point clocks ticking down from both battlers. In the end, it looked as close as she had ever seen it. It felt like the announcement build-up lasted for a year when Billy's photo appeared on the screen. "The winner of the Grand Festival is Billy and his Pokemon," the MC announced. Sarah cheered at the top of her lungs, as did her Pokemon. Billy was presented with the grand ribbon, and each of his Pokemon was given a ribbon to wear in congratulations. His photo was taken and added to their hall of top coordinators. When the festivities were over, Sarah and Billy celebrated together by going to the beach and having a party with their Pokemon. They spent most of the night kissing. "Now it's thy turn, Sarah. Get your last badge, and I will cheer thee on at the league," he told her.
"I will do that. And I'll revive my Pokemon with the candle. Then we will do our best to become champions."
She touched the ribbon pinned to his vest.
"I am so proud of thee, Billy. Thy dream hath came true."
"Yes, it did, but it won't be complete until thou art champion," he said smoothly. "Then we will make this region our home."
"Yeah."
She trailed off, knowing her decision was coming up. Her training with the Legend team the next day was grueling, but Billy helped her. Sai and Timmy sparred together. Cosmo shifted between forms to train the others, and Lily kept everyone on their toes by teleporting during the target practice. It was hard work, but worth it to see them leveling up and learning new moves. She even used some of the move discs she'd been gathering to help their power grow. The next day, she found the gym open for business, and Billy went to the stands to cheer her on. He'd given her some of his special ball capsules and seals to use from here on. She appreciated him so much. The gym trainers fell one after another to her powerful legendary Pokemon. When she got to the gym leader, he looked her up and down and rolled his eyes.
I'm Volkner, the Sunny Shore gym leader. I'm guessing you're another boring battler like I've seen for months now. Do you really want to battle, or can I just give you a badge? He said unenthusiastically.
With that attitude, I am absolutely battling thee, and my team will give thee a battle thou wilt never forget,
Sarah said with a huff. I doubt it, but fine, Volkner said. I'm not putting my electric types through another boring fight, so you'll have to face my secondary team and like it. Go, Gastrodon. He sent in a ground and water type.
This will be anything but boring, Sarah smirked. Atlas, battle stations!
Volkner went white in the face when Regigigas took the field. The legendary titan who moved continents, he gasped.
Oh, you recognize him, Sarah said in sarcasm. Good. Atlas, use strength.
Atlas smacked Gastrodon hard and took a third of its health. Gastrodon used Hidden Power, which came out as a fighting-type move. While it was super effective, it barely tickled her Titan. Atlas prepped to use Skull Bash, a strong normal-type move that boosted his defense for one turn. Body Slam tickled him, then he struck with Skull Bash and pushed it into yellow. Atlas went down to half after being hit with Muddy Water, but he used Stomp and knocked out the Gastrodon. Volkner sent in a Primeape, which could do some serious damage to Atlas. Sarah withdrew him for safety.
Timmy, come on out!
Sarah sent in her Mewtwo, who levitated above the ground in a power move taught to him by Sai. Primeape, use Thrash! Volkner ordered. Timmy was hit twice by the speedy Pokemon.
Timmy, Psycho Cut, now!
He powered up and struck with an energy blade, knocking out Primeape in one shot. Mightyena was next, a dark type.
Timmy, come back.
Sarah withdrew him.
Kronos, go get him.
Kronos burst onto the field and took a small hit. He struck with Dragon Claw to the shock of Volkner, who stared down the barrel of the Timekeeper. Mightyena used Embargo to prevent use of healing items on Kronos.
Dragon Claw, knock it out,
Sarah commanded. With that order, he struck down Mightyena. Volkner was practically shaking in his boots as he sent in his last Pokemon, Wailord.
Kronos, return to my side.
Sarah withdrew him and kissed her next Pokeball.
This is it, buddy. You can do it. Go, Snuggles!
Her Giratina came to the field with a roar.
No way. Are all of your Pokemon?
Volkner stammered.
I have Darkrai and Heatran ready and waiting,
Sarah told him, and all of the color drained from his face.
Still bored, boy?
Not even a little, Volkner said. Water Spout, Wailord! It hit, but Snuggles shook off the water, hardly feeling it. It didn't do anything.
Shadow Force, Snuggles!
Snuggles dove into a shadow, dodging another water spout. He shot up and slammed into Wailord, shooting it into yellow health. Volkner had to heal, but Sarah commanded Snuggles to use Dragon Claw to get some easy damage. She called for Shadow Force again, but Volkner smirked. He called for Dive, and Wailord dodged the attack, then struck at Snuggles, but it hardly hurt him. Seeing this strategy in action, Snuggles switched to Dragon Claw again. He got it into red, and Sarah expected Volkner to heal, but he hung his head and ground his teeth in frustration.
Snuggles, finish this with Dragon Claw!
Snuggles struck and knocked out Wailord. Sarah heard Billy screaming at the top of his lungs with Toxica and the others. Snuggles bounded over to Sarah, tackled her, and licked her face all over, tail wagging like a dog. Atlas lifted her on his shoulder after she pushed her Giratina off of her. Timmy hugged her around the back beaming, and Kronos nuzzled her cheek. Atlas carried Sarah over to Volkner and set her down in front of him. You, surprised me. A team full of legends? Maybe there's hope for this region's trainers after all. Here's your beacon badge, well earned. Volkner handed her the 8th badge of Sinnoh, and Sarah pinned it to her cloak. She and Billy met up outside, and they shared a long kiss. Billy smiled at her happily, but something in his eyes was different. The 8th badge restored the last of his memories. She could tell. He pulled her close and kissed her again. Thou hast done beautifully, Sarah. Let's get to the center to rest thy Pokemon, he said sweetly. They did just that, and while there, Sarah checked her bag. Inside was a black flame candle and no life potions.
Let's restore my team to its glory, she said.
Is it time? He asked, and she nodded. Then get their balls out of the meadow and let's go outside. Sarah brought out Ursula and Mabel's Pokeballs from the meadow, as well as the rest of her primary team. She set their Pokeballs side by side as the others watched. She sparked her finger and lit the wick, a black flame springing to life. The light filtered into each of the Pokeballs slowly. Billy kept a hand on Sarah's shoulder for support as the light went out. The Pokeballs burst open, and in front of her sat Ursula, her Tentacool, and Mabel, her Mawile. They looked around, then saw her and gasped. Tears sprang to her eyes as Mabel picked up Ursula with the jaws on her head and ran into her arms. Sarah hugged and kissed the both of them, crying tears of joy. Ursula was greeted warmly by all of her former teammates and met Pearl for the first time. Ursula gave Pearl her blessing to be the water type of the team. Mabel was tossed in the air like a hero by her dear friends. "They seem so happy to be back together," Billy stated.
"They are."
Sarah wiped her eyes.
"I am too."
"So am I." Billy, however, was looking at Sarah. Sarah looked back at him. "Being back together with the woman I love has made me very happy indeed."
"And being with the man I love has made this journey worth the work."
They leaned in and kissed each other. The next day, Sarah and Billy sent out their water types and began sailing together. Off the coast of Sunny Shore City, Sarah caught a Muck the Grimer, and on the route ahead, she caught Matthias the Tyrogue. And when they hit the entrance of Victory Road, she caught Machio the Ludicolo. Billy patted her shoulder as she stood in front of the cavern. "You can do this, Sarah." "I have faith in you," he said confidently.
"Come with me?"
she requested. "Of course," he smiled, and the pair walked inside. And now, the finale. Previously on the finale of Sarah Sanderson Plays Pokemon Diamond Randomized Nuzlocke. Sarah and Billy hiked the long, twisting caverns, battling every trainer that stood in their way. They were unbeatable, unstoppable, and so happy. Sarah had everything in this moment. A full team of happy Pokemon, a legendary that loved her so much, and the man she loved so much. The camping trips they'd been on, the adventure they had together, Billy was back and all hers just as she was all his. Even in the damp, chilly caverns, she was warm all over. It took a week to get through the Victory Road, but once they arrived at the Pokemon League, it was worth it. "One more test to go," Billy said as they stared at the beautiful building. "I can't wait to watch thee win the championship."
"You think we will?"
she asked. "I know you will," he smiled. Hand in hand, they walked into the Pokemon League. Sarah stopped at the desk just before registration for the tournament closed. Her number was last, but she knew she had Billy to keep her nerves in check. They each took some time to freshen up before going down to the dining area to feed their Pokemon. It was packed with so many trainers, with so many Pokemon. They decided to take their teams outside. Billy had brought all of the Pokemon he'd ever performed with in his contest career. Sarah was reunited with Toxica, who hugged her super tight and happily. After they were fed, the trainers sat under the stars for a while. "Nervous about tomorrow, love?" Billy asked her after a while.
"Yes, for more reasons than thou knowest," she sighed.
"Whatever thy worries, I will be here to get rid of them," he promised, smooching her cheek. The kiss made her heart flutter, but her stomach knotted up. Billy took notice of her reaction. "Hey, how about a training battle for tomorrow? Some of my friends could use a workout, and we can get your team in shape."
"I like that idea,"
she smiled. They got up and took to the battlefield. "Chomper, Spotlight!" Billy called in his Rattata.
"Cobweb, I choose thee,"
Sarah called in her Venusaur.
"Razor Leaf."
Chomper took the hit hard, but he recovered and hopped onto the leaves. As he was running down, he struck with assurance. Billy healed him, but Cobweb fired another Razor Leaf. Chomper fainted and Billy smiled. "All right, lass, you asked for it. Gallant, center stage!" His Gardevoir teleported onto the field.
"Cobweb, return!"
Sarah called back Venusaur.
"Thy starter will face my starter. Go, Snuggles!"
Sarah's Giratina came to the field to face off with his rival. Gallant hit him hard with Psychic, but Sarah took a page from Billy's book. As she called for Shadow Force, Snuggles rode the Psychic Vortex into a shadow. Gallant tried sensing his opponent, but Snuggles popped up, struck, and knocked out Gallant. Billy called his starter back, Sarah smirking at him. "Let's go, Maui!" Billy sent in a Crawdaunt. Snuggles faced off with Maui, in the end defeating him. Gale the Aerodactyl flew in, exchanging ancient power moves with Snuggles. Eventually, after a hard-fought battle, Snuggles came out on top. Spike the Feraligator met his match with Snuggles again. "Sarah, thou hast grown so much. Show my newest friend how it's done," he said. "Rosebud, take the stage." Billy's Budu was the final opponent.
"Snuggles, finish this battle with Dragon Claw!"
Sarah commanded, and Snuggles dealt the finishing blow. Billy and Sarah came together in a hug and kiss. "Feel ready for tomorrow?" he asked. In her heart, Sarah was far from ready, but she chose to lie to Billy.
"Yes, I am."
In her room that night, crushed under Snuggles, Sarah pulled out her Pokédex. Not only had it stored data on her Pokémon, it had taken images of her at her happiest moments with Billy and her Pokémon. Her heart ached, knowing this time was coming to an end. She pressed the button that always brought it to life.
"Cursed box, tell me something. What will the end of this trial hold for me?"
She asked it. "A choice," it said. "You recall."
"What happens with my choices?"
she asked. "If you choose to leave, you take your Pokémon and return to your sisters as always, earning another point towards an earthly return."
"And if I do not?"
"You will remain here with Billy in this life, never see your sisters again, and all memory of your life as Sarah Sanderson of Salem will be erased," it revealed.
"Erased?"
She gulped. "You will be given the opportunity to live here in peace with Billy Butcherson and your Pokémon. His memories of the past will also be erased. He will only remember you. You'll both be the ages the world sees you as, grow up, and have new lives. However, you will have no memory of your old life, your magic, your father, or your sisters. It will be as though you never existed to them, and they to you," it explained.
"I will not remember anything. Not one memory?"
she stammered. "Not one."
"Oh, okay. Thank thee."
Sarah closed it, placed it on the table by her bed, then laid back down. She could have everything she wanted if she chose to stay in this world. She'd keep every Pokémon she ever caught. She'd remain the Sinnoh champion. And she'd have Billy. Billy, the man she loved so much. They could grow up together, marry, start a family, and grow old together like she had wanted. He would get a fresh start, too, after all of the trouble her family had caused him. They could have the life they always envisioned. However, she'd lose all of her magic, all of her wonderful memories of her father, and her sisters. Mary and Winifred would be gone forever, the only home she had ever truly known. Sure, it hadn't been perfect, and she had gotten the short end of the stick a lot, but to give them up forever? There would never be a way to see them again. No memories of them, absolutely nothing. Could she really give them up like this? The thoughts plagued her all night long as she tried to get some sleep. Her leg bounced all day as the tournament dragged on, as trainer after trainer lost to the Elite Four. "Sarah, it's nearly thy turn," Billy said after what felt like an eternity. "I am going to the stands now." She got up and they hugged tightly. They shared a very long kiss. "Go get them, champ."
"I will,"
she promised. As he left, she watched him go. Snuggles nudged her back as their number was called. She turned to her team.
"Ready, everyone? If we win this championship without a loss, all of thee get to remain with me forever."
They cheered happily. Sarah pulled them into their Pokeballs, and she entered the first chamber. "Welcome to the last challenger of the day. I'm Aaron, the first member of the Elite Four. My Pokemon have only been beaten a few times today, so let's see how well you do against my expertly trained team. Goldeen, come on out!" He sent in a Water-type Pokemon.
"Cobweb, begin the tournament!"
Sarah sent in her Venusaur. It took 2 turns for Cobweb to knock out the Goldeen. Next came the Psychic-type Chimecho, who faced off against Snuggles, who knocked it out easily with Shadow Force. Pichu fell to Dragon Claw, and Geodude was knocked out by Dragon Claw after doing some damage to Snuggles. Butterfree was the last opponent, and it went down to Ancient Power and Fly. Sarah beat the first Elite Four, and he shook her hand. She was admitted to the next room. "So, dear, I see you have beaten Aaron. Well, I am Bertha, and only 10 trainers have passed me of the 50 today. Let's see how you fare. Squirtle, come out and play." A Squirtle took the field.
"Cobweb, you're up again."
Sarah sent out her Venusaur.
"Razor Leaf."
Cobweb unleashed Razor Leaf and Squirtle fell before it could move. Solrock burst onto the scene next, meeting a quick end from Cobweb's Seed Flare attack. Duskull fell to a combination of Sludge Bomb and Razor Leaf. Cobweb hardly felt the retaliation. Rotom proved to be tougher as it was a speedy thing. Cobweb had to concentrate and listen to every word Sarah said. Eventually, he knocked it out. Last came Elekid. Before it moved, Cobweb launched a very powerful Sludge Bomb and ended the battle. Cobweb ran to Sarah and she wrapped her arms around his neck. He licked her, she kissed him, and they hugged tightly. Cobweb was the very first starter she ever received after her failure with Brutus. She had failed him, too. Then she got a second chance when she woke up one morning turned into a Skitty. He'd become her rescue team partner and come home with her at the end. Now he was fully evolved and just took out an Elite Four member solo. This was redemption at its finest. Bertha clapped for them, stepped aside, and ushered them into the next chamber. "Sup, trainer? My name is Flint. Only 2 trainers have passed me today. I hope you're ready for your challenge to end here. Ready, set, battle station, Seadra!" Cobweb jumped into action and almost knocked it out. Flint withdrew his Pokemon, then sent out Snover as Razor Leaf tickled it. Sarah switched Cobweb with Daphne in retaliation. Snover unleashed a blizzard attack, but Daphne defended herself well. She ran in and struck it down with Force Palm. Mantike met with Snuggles, who took it out quickly. Seadra came back in and also fell to Snuggles. And Motham followed the same fate. Last came a strong Golem that fell to Cobweb. Flint was shocked by the loss, then stepped aside. Sarah and her team advanced to the last chamber of the Elite Four. "Well, you got past Flint. I was so hoping to finish the book I was reading. I'm Lucian, and I suppose I can spare time to defeat you. No one has gotten past my team today. Gardevoir, prepare for battle!" "Puddin' on deck!" Sarah's Linoon came in for battle. Sarah ordered Puddin' to attack with Slash. She got in 2 hits before taking a lot of damage from Gardevoir's Psychic. Puddin' was so fast she shot past Gardevoir and struck from behind, knocking it out. Gyarados and Snuggles locked themselves in for battle for a long time until Lucian switched it out with Shiftry. Shiftry wasn't a slouch, so Snuggles had to keep fighting. Fly finally took it down. Once again, horns locked, Snuggles and Gyarados battled it out until Snuggles overpowered it. He was exhausted. Pearl came up against Volbeat, and, with Rain Dance boosted water attacks, she knocked it out. His last Pokemon was Phanpy, that also fainted to Pearl. Lucian was amazed at the power of this trainer before him. "You have defeated the Elite Four. You now have the honor of facing our champion," Lucian told her. He ushered her to the final chamber. When Sarah walked in, she saw Cynthia smiling at her. She seemed to have been waiting for her. Sarah felt her heart pounding, scanned the stands for Billy, and saw him looking down at her with a confident smile on his face. With his face in mind, she felt ready. "I knew you were going to be the one to face me in this tournament. I've known since I met you the first time with Giratina. It might be a clone from Team Galactic, but it's rare that I have ever seen trainer and Pokemon so closely bonded. Now I want to see that power from all of your Pokemon. Shall we commence the battle?" "Yes, Cynthia, we shall. I will defeat thee. My Pokemon are ready." Sarah had a lot on the line, and she wasn't about to lose. "All right, the championship begins now. Bayleaf, I need your assistance." Cynthia sent in a very strong-looking Bayleaf. "Mabel, I choose thee." Sarah sent in her Mawile. Mabel snapped her jaws strongly. Bayleaf opened with Safeguard to prevent status effects. Mabel used Iron Head and took Bayleaf's health down to roughly half. Bayleaf powered up a Solar Beam as it took another Iron Head. Mabel dug in her feet as the Solar Beam exploded in her face. Her health plunged. "Mabel, crunch attack, now!" Sarah commanded. Mabel flipped out of the beam's path, corkscrewed with her large jaws ahead of her, diving towards Bayleaf and clamped down. It was a contest move inspired by Billy. Bayleaf fell, Mabel standing proudly. Cynthia returned her grass type to its ball. She sent in Elekid next. Sarah felt confident enough to heal Mabel before they kept going. Elekid proved powerful, knocking Mabel down to half health. Sarah called her back. "Cobweb, you're up!"
Cobweb stomped his feet on the battlefield. He was tickled by an attack, then used an explosive seed flare to push Elekid into the red. Cynthia had to heal, but thanks to the severe special defense drop. "Cobweb, sludge bomb, now!" Sarah ordered. Cobweb executed his attack, and Elekid fainted. Cynthia brought in Snowrunt, an ice type. "Cobweb, return! Let's do this together, Daphne!" Sarah's Hariyama burst into action. Daphne took a blizzard, but pushed it off. Daphne cracked her knuckles, and Sarah smiled. "Daphne, force palm, full power!" Sarah shouted. Daphne shot forward, used her move, and knocked out the Snowrunt. Sarah then came face to face with a towering Wailord. "Daphne, come back! Cobweb, return to the field!" Cobweb jumped onto the field immediately, being blasted by Hydro Pump. He dug in and fought through it. He retaliated with Seed Flare, almost knocking it out, but Wailord dove into the pool part of the field to use Dive. Sarah healed Cobweb in both health and power for his Seed Flare. Wailord was proving problematic as its dive attack was too fast for Cobweb. Sarah called for him to be patient, and when Wailord surfaced again, "Seed Flare, now!" she called. Cobweb's grassy aura exploded and knocked out the Wailord. Then came Pachirisu, another electric type. "Cobweb, take a rest. Puddin', charge!" Puddin' was ready to fight, scraping her nails on the ground. She and Pachirisu had an amazing battle, each one dealing strong blows to the other. Finally, "Puddin', you slash!" Sarah called for Puddin's last attack, and Pachirisu fell. "I can't remember the last time I was backed into a corner like this." Cynthia smiled. She looked at her last Pokeball. "We aren't finished yet. Go, Love Disc!" "All right. Time for my sweet partner to take the field. Snuggles, let's finish this together." Sarah brought out her Giratina. "It's about time. Love Disc, use Safeguard. Snuggles, Shadow Force." Snuggles dove into the shadows, and Cynthia looked everywhere for where he would reappear. After a while, Sarah snapped her fingers, and Snuggles knocked Love Disc into the red. It restored its health via a citrus berry and aqua ring. Sarah and Snuggles nodded to each other. "Snuggles, end this with Dragon Claw!" she commanded. Snuggles struck, threw his foe into the wall, and the battle ended. Sarah grinned brightly as she heard clambering behind her. Billy was running into the arena as Cynthia, in shock, smiled and applauded. Billy ran up and hugged Sarah from behind as she was announced as champion. Everything around them started to fade when Sarah's Pokédex sprang to life and brought in all of her Pokémon. Turned out it was just the Dex as her proctor this time. Sarah had been expecting Cynthia, but she was already gone. It is time to make your choice, Sarah Sanderson. What will it be? Live here with Billy Butcherson, start new lives, and lose the memories of everything and everyone from your past, or go back with up to 6 Pokemon and rejoin your sisters in Purgatory for a chance at another earthly return, it stated. Billy looked at Sarah in amazement. "Thou hast to choose between me and thy sisters?" he asked. "And if you choose me, we will both lose our memories?" "Yes," she sniffed, feeling her eyes begin to well up. "And this is the hardest choice I'll ever make." "Sarah, we must think this through before you give an answer," he told her. "I haven't the time to." "We must," he insisted. They sat together on the floor. "I love thee, but if we lose our memories, what if I do not any longer?" Sarah tilted her head. "Pardon?" "Think about it. I met thee through Winifred. I met thee because of Winifred. If I had never been dared to kiss her and she began to believe she was in love with me, the two of us would never have met nor fallen in love," Sarah realized. Billy nodded. "But Billy, thou wouldst never have died had we never met. And my most treasured memories with thee would not have existed. I died a man in love with a wonderful woman. I regret my choices with Winifred, but never anything with you. To lose our memories, we may not be in love anymore. This world might be our new home, but what if we simply part ways as friends? I want to always have my memories of you. The badges you collected gave me all of them back. I do not want to risk losing them again." "But I do not want to lose thee again." Sarah felt her tears run down her face. "These past months together have been the most wonderful time of my life, and I have lived a long time, so that means something. Billy, please do not make me lose thee again."
He held her in his arms, rocking her slowly. If you stay and our memories dissolve, we have no connection other than the lives given us here. You may lose me no matter what. At least, if you go back, you'll always have this time with me. Billy kissed her on top of the head. She looked over at the hovering decks.
Cursed box, if our memories are erased, could we lose each other?
Sarah's dex was silent for a moment. It is a possibility, it responded. There are no guarantees.
Billy.
Sarah looked back to him. He dried her eyes, got up, helped her to her feet, and pulled her into a very long, passionate kiss. I love you, Sarah Sanderson, he said.
I love you, Billy Butcherson,
she said, eyes sparkling with tears. They let go of each other, and she turned back to her true age. Just as beautiful as the day I lost you, Billy told her. He remained in his youthful form.
Cursed box, I will return to purgatory.
She made her decision, as much as it hurt. You may take 6 Pokemon with you since you had a perfect trial result, it told her.
My team. I am taking my team, she told it. Snuggles, Mabel, Daphne, Cobweb, Puddin', and Pearl.
Cobweb will return no matter what. Choose one more, it told her, and Sarah gasped. She looked back at Billy, who opened a Pokeball with a smile. Out popped Toxica.
Toxica, I choose you.
Sarah smiled, and Toxica ran forward to her once former trainer. Sarah and her Pokemon were lifted into the air and began fading into dust. She never let her eyes leave Billy. He never took his eyes off of her, either. She wanted to memorize his face so it would be there forever. She bid farewell to her other Pokemon as her last moments were coming.
Billy, I love you.
I love you too, Sarah. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
And like that, everything went black. Sarah felt heavy, like her body was being weighed down. Upon opening her eyes, she noticed why. Snuggles was asleep on top of her. She looked around from under his weight and saw the familiar walls of her room. She was back.
Snuggles, off. Off, boy. Come on, off.
She grunted, shaking her Giratina awake. On the rug, curled up together, were Cobweb, still fully evolved, Puddin', Daphne, Mabel, Pearl, and Toxica.
Snuggles, get off, boy, thou art crushing me.
Snuggles sat up, groggy, and released Sarah with a yawn. She patted his cheek with a soft smile. She roused her other Pokemon and walked them down the stairs. Snuggles tripped over his 6 legs and knocked everyone down onto the floor. Sarah couldn't help letting out a laugh. She took them to the barn for Pokemon, and she was rushed by her past team members. They all welcomed her home happily, kissing her, hugging her, and tackling her to the floor. Her new additions met the family and made fast friends. Kitty ran up to Cobweb, climbed on his head, and laid down. She was happy to have him back. Carlos followed Sarah out to the door where she saw the results of her test.
Sarah Sanderson passed with honors. Special points awarded for giving up what she wanted most for the people she loves the most,
she read. Carlos rubbed his head on her leg as she wiped her eyes. New words lit up. Mary Sanderson, trial in progress.
She'll do just fine. She always does,
Sarah sniffed. Moments later, the words changed.
Mary Sanderson, first attempt failed, she gasped. Impossible! Mary is the best of the 3 of us.
Carlos reached up. Sarah picked him up, stroked his fur, and let out a long breath.
You can do this, sister.
Sarah, while concerned for Mary, went back inside and had herself a good cry from all the emotions she was feeling after her journey. The end.